Okay, welcome everyone to the Keshe Plasma Reactor Group for Tuesday, April 18th, 2017. And we're fresh out of the last workshop of the Keshe Foundation, which is the Cancer Blueprint Day, Cancer Solutions in Exchange for World Peace. And that was quite a workshop. That was some very graphic examples of how the Keshe products, specifically the GANZs, can produce effects on cancer. Anyway, so for today's workshop here with the plasma group, we have David that's needs to give his little presentation early here. So I'm going to turn things over to him right away and have him explain. He's got some pictures to show and whatnot regarding some nanocoating. So David, are you ready to go there for, do you want to do screen sharing? Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
that was quick. Yeah, you're the quickest screen share I've ever seen.
Well, I'm an engineer, so I should know these things a little
bit.
bit.
All right, perfect. All right, so we got a picture of salts here, yeah?
Yeah, so basically I just want to share some information for an experiment that I was running that may be of interest to people. In this particular case, so you can see this particular salt, I'd use this for making some crystals, trying to make some plasma crystals. This particular salt has been used in the past, I think in the 30s, to make crystals for different applications. Kind of a cheap way to do it. And that was kind of my initial starting point with this particular salt. You can see that it has the sodium in it, which is important for opening up the plasma. It also has the potassium, and then it has the carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen, which is kind of interesting that it's only missing the nitrogen to have all four elements. Some of the observations just with this salt doing different kinds of experiments was that in the presence of a CO2 kit, very little GANS is made during a time frame where if you had another kit with sea salt, you would get much GANS. So one observation was with the CO2 kit was that you would get very little GANS if you use this instead of sea salt. And in my thinking, I believe that it's possible this creates maybe more of a stronger gravitational condition, and that the regular sea salt may create more of a magnetical condition. This is my thinking at the moment. Part of this thinking is also from some other tests. I'm kind of getting off from the main subject, but I kind of feel like maybe the background's important. I had done some other tests by taking a CO2 kit, multiple CO2 kits, and one of them I made more alkaline, and one of them I made more acidic to see what the result would be. And in the acidic kit, it appeared to produce, to me, more GANS, CO2 GANS, in the same amount of time. So this is just a standard CO2 kit with some extra, well, I think it was lemon juice I used to make it acidic. Whereas the other kit, which I believe I used baking soda, I'm trying to remember what I used on that one, but basically I measured the pH of both of them, and I had pushed the CO2 kit to a higher alkaline state. And on that particular kit, I noticed it was very hard to produce CO2. So CO2 did get produced, but in much smaller quantities and took much longer. And so that's where, when I moved to this Rochelle salt, I saw kind of a similar pattern, which to me indicated that perhaps the environment was more stronger gravitational, and that you weren't getting the GANS production with the Rochelle salt. Now, the reason I bring all that up is that Mr. Keshe had talked about back in June, almost a year ago, about making crystals over a couple of different workshops, and he said something along the lines of, you want to change the condition of the setup of the kit to not produce GANS, meaning that they're optimized for GANS right now, but that you need to do something different, which the way I understood what he was saying was that you need to change probably the solution of the of the water, so not necessarily sea salt or sea salt plus something else. And it would create a condition that instead of manifesting the GANs, would push the plasma field in a different direction that would help manifest the crystals. So this is where I got to thinking about the gravitational strength within the kit, the CO2 kit. Oops, sorry. Can you still hear me? Okay, sorry. I pushed something out. Never mind. So in my thinking here was that with the gravitational field being stronger perhaps in the kit, that you would get a more of a manifestation of material or a different condition. So, all right, so let me think about this. Okay, so with the Rochelle salt, what I did with this particular experiment that I'm going to go through right now is I simply had a standard CO2 kit, but instead of using sea salt, I used 10% of this Rochelle salt.
Okay.
Just a
Okay, I
second.
see. That's good. I could mention that some people have used Epsom salts as a substitute for the sea salt. And again, it's similar to what you say. It's less production and so on. It's a different environment. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Yeah. That's exactly. So the first starting point. So what was I trying to achieve with this? My thought was, can I use a dynamic? So in my opinion, the CO2 kit is creating a dynamic field plasma within the kit. And Keshe, so just in the last workshop, I think it was last week, he's talked about this for a long time, but he brought it up again. The two rotating reactors, putting like liquid plasma between them of gold or silver, manifesting that material between the rotating plasma fields of these reactors. But then he also mentioned the CO2 kits and the plates being equivalent to these reactors. And this is the same thing that I have been thinking about for probably about 2 months, about how do we just use the CO2 kit to produce or manifest materials. And the same thing that he said, I saw these two plates as basically being the same substitute for the rotating reactors, meaning let's get rid of the complexity and can we just do this as simple as possible? That's more where I was thinking. And so in this particular case, I was thinking, okay, so if I'm creating a gravitational condition or a different condition in the kit, can I create an effect? What effect do I want to create? The effect I wanted to try to create was to nano coat copper within the dynamic plasma field. This was my initial thinking. So the first place that I started was to take a copper wire. So I set up the kit like you say here, zinc plate, nano-coated copper plate on the left, 10% Rochelle salt, and then I dropped a bare copper wire into the bottom of the kit. Now, of course,
Excuse me, are you showing a different picture than the original assault picture of the jar?
oh, okay. Here's where my engineering apparently doesn't pay off. Yeah, so I had highlighted the application and clicked it, and and then I moved the slide, and I guess it didn't keep up.
Oh, okay.
So
I
let's
thought
see, how do I do this?
something was missing from my vision there.
Yeah,
Okay,
now,
now we have a different picture. We can see the nano-coated scrubby pad, it looks like. Copper
oh yeah,
scrubby pad.
okay, you can see. Okay, good.
Yeah,
All right, yeah.
thank you.
So yeah, okay, no problem. So all right, so yeah, so in the bottom of that kit, now of course you could place the copper wire in different locations at the top, slightly outside the kit. You could stand it up vertically so it spans the air down to the bottom through the water. There's a lot of different variations that could cause different kinds of effects. But the first place I started was just to drop it into the bottom of the kit because that was simple. And I orientated it in the direction of the two plates. And although the picture looks sort of deceptive, that particular wire is not touching anything. It's just sitting at the bottom of the kit, and there's no physical touching between it and any of the other two plates. Now, what was interesting here, I did not get necessarily the effect that I expected, but I feel it's of value, and you'll see in a second, I think. But essentially, the wire closest to the zinc plate started to have a lot of activity bubbling and started to turn silver. Now, when I did some research with other chemical compositions with zinc and copper, but not the one I used, but I'm saying that somebody else has seen a similar pattern. If you use the right kind of chemical, zinc and copper in a solution, you can get the transference of zinc to the copper. Now this wire looked to my eye to be very, very, very silver, like silver, like as in the element of silver, not necessarily zinc. Zinc looks very kind of dull to me. So it did not look like this to me. It did not actually look like zinc, but this was sort of the most logical explanation as to what actually occurred.
Was
Um,
there power through your wire system there? No.
yes, yeah,
Oh,
there was.
okay.
Yeah,
How much power were you putting in?
that's a good question because I was just quickly trying to run through different experiments. I think in that particular case, I had quite a bit. Like I cranked it up, and I think there might have been like an amp or two.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember, and then maybe like 30 volts. This is DC.
And
Um,
another question would be, what is that? Is there a pin or something? Is that maybe a closed pin on the right side there that's holding the plate? It's
correct.
in the liquid a bit. Is there and also the alligator clip I noticed has a chrome plating on it. Did that get into the solution at all? It's very close to it there, but it looks like it's still above the water line, right?
Correct. It did not touch. The clothespin plastic one did touch the tip, but the metal alligator clip did not touch. That is correct.
Okay, good. Yep,
Um,
interesting.
so, or do you have another question?
Well, no, but definitely that could be in effect with those kind of, if that kind of amperage or any kind of voltage there, it would create a certain kind of, it can create a plating effect on copper, for example. Yeah. But carry on, this is good, yeah.
Okay. So, all right. Let me think about this. Okay. So, yeah. Okay. So I'll just continue. Sorry. So, basically, what I ended up doing. So, okay. So I did that for a little bit. I don't think it was very long. I believe it was like a couple of minutes. You see this reaction, like a pretty extreme reaction. I then pulled the wire out of the kit, which I just moved my, let's see if you can see this. Can you see the updated picture? Oh, shoot. Okay. It's just about a 15 or 20-second delay. Okay. So here's the wire pulled out of the kit. Now, it's kind of hard to see a little bit, but it's very silver. And one of the things that was interesting was that it seemed to oxidize very quickly after I pulled it out of the kit. So that kind of blackish tip seemed to occur mostly after it was pulled out of the water. There was a little bit of a color difference inside the water, but it seemed to get much more extreme rapidly when I pulled it out. Whereas there is a section there that's silver that remains silver. So that was just sort of interesting. Now, the next thing I did was, okay, transmutation of matter, all this kind of stuff that he talks about. Let's just double check. So I snipped the end of the wire just to check, and sure enough, it was just plated. There was not, a solid change through the entire wire. Now, the point here, just to bring up, so this was sort of like a little happy accident, experiment, interest, whatever. Uh, it didn't get me in my nano coding kind of direction that I wanted to go, but the reason I'm even bringing this up is that since we know zinc and copper are both important for the human body, this may be a method for zinc coating, say, health pens and other things of that sort within your kit. So you could get or even for power, you could get multiple stages or sections of the wire that are
Hmm.
zinc, copper, and then you take that and nano coat the whole thing. And
Yeah,
because
yeah, definitely. Well, there's
let's see,
something in nanocoding called doping, and that's where you, in this example, if your copper wire was already nano-coated with copper oxide, which would make it black, then you could still have zinc atoms in there that are part of the structure, and in certain quantities, they actually, have percentages of doping, percentages of, say, zinc in the copper, for example. And you definitely have a gradient here from the one end that's very zinc plated, and then, like you say, it's interesting that there's a transition point there in the bend that seems to be shiny and it hasn't oxidized. Has that oxidized since, or has that remained shiny in that part of the wire?
I would have to double check it today. This was, I think, a week ago or so, but my last recollection is that it's still the same. It did not oxidize.
Right. So what I'm thinking, what appears to me, is that the zinc has, you know, plated on the copper, which is fairly normal, but because of the way you had the orientation of the wire, it's plated in a gradient, in a, you know, from 100% copper at one end to 100% zinc at the other end. So in between there and around that shiny part is probably just atomic layers of zinc. And because it's just atomic layers, it may be that it doesn't oxidize in the same manner, because perhaps it takes several, you know, layers or 1,000 layers in order for us to even see it as a as an entity that looks like a dull sort of color like that. So you may have actually something special in terms of nano coating, with a few atomic layers of zinc that end up, in a way, protecting the copper, perhaps, and you know, there might be some special properties for that part of the wire. It
Yeah.
could be interesting as a health pin, like you were saying.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, in my mind, there's definitely potential here, and that's why I wanted people to be at least be aware of it. They may want to play around with this. Okay, I've just moved to the next picture. Let me know when you can see it. Still okay. More. Oh shoot, it must have. Here, let me just reshare again. Sorry. Yeah, just when I get it all set up, it has to go out on me there. All right, let's try this again. Okay. All right. So that was the first experiment. Kind of got a result I didn't expect. It was kind of interesting. Or I would, you know, anyways. So I moved on to the next experiment. So in this particular setup, same thing. You know, Rochelle salt, 10% zinc plate, nano-coated copper plate, power supply. But instead, one of the things that I had noticed with a strong, whoa, what happened there? Picture just flipped on me. Um,
Okay, yes.
Sorry.
Okay.
Anyway, sorry, I keep going. So basically, same kind of setup. But one of the things I had noticed with a strong alkaline CO2 kit, or in the case of this Rochelle salt, is that if you apply power to the CO2 kit, you get a rapid blackening of the zinc plate. And I've seen this occur with a standard CO2 kit, but it usually takes longer. This was like seconds kind of a thing, like within minutes, it gets pretty black. And so the thinking here was, okay, so if that is actually nano coating on the zinc plate, what if we orientate a copper wire at the same location, would it become coated with the same type of material? And the answer was yes. And so what you're seeing here is within maybe a 3-minute span roughly of turning the kit power on. I think I had standard, I can't remember how much power I had in there, but I don't think it was much. Like, I can't remember, because with the Rochelle salt, it creates a condition where it's difficult to get a voltage through the kit. And so I can't remember. I think it was low voltage, maybe or sorry, low amperage, high power, high voltage, low amperage, high voltage, I think. But it took, like I said, about 3 minutes. So okay, that's interesting. It coated the section of the copper that was in the water next to the plate, touching the plate. Okay, let me move to the next. Okay, I just changed it again. Let me know when you see
Yeah,
the change.
we see
Okay.
a nano-coated plate, I think, in a wire.
Okay, so this is the wire pulled out of the kit, and above it is a nano-coated copper plate using caustic method coating. They look very similar. Um, to the naked eye, to the camera, they appear almost identical in this picture, but to the naked eye, You could see a difference between the two in terms of the darkness, but I would say to the naked eye, roughly, this wire was appeared to be maybe 70% as dark as the plate above it. I then placed it back in the kit at the same exact setup that I just showed you in the previous one, and let it sit overnight. I turned off the power on the power supply and let it sit overnight. When I pulled it out again, it looked like it had improved the darkness to similar to what the plate above looks like, at least with the naked eye. So this very much did appear to me to be nano coating. I'm going to move.
Did you try any electrical test with it to test as a insulator?
I did not do that, but what I did do is to place it into a standard CO2 kit and to put it into the position of a nano-coated copper plate to see if it would produce CO2 GANs.
I see.
And the answer is yes. This is it sitting in there for, I think it was overnight, and I had little GANs particles on it and some aminos at the top. I then, yeah, here we go. And then I started to apply some power to it, and this would be like 0.15 amps and like maybe 1 volt. And after a couple hours, I got the standard amino acid GANs production within the kit. So this appears to absolutely be a nano-coated, a way to nano-coat copper. So with that being the case, some of the thoughts I had just when I reflected on this information, it was if it's being formed in a dynamic plasma field, then it might be a more organized nano coating, meaning when we use the caustic method and we zap it with the voltmeter to try to orientate the fibers or the coating, that this may naturally form in the correct direction to create a potentially, not guaranteeing it or anything, but it's possible, a higher order of nano coating just because it's formed in the dynamic field plasma. The other thoughts that come to mind are if we stick other wires up against that zinc plate, tungsten, aluminum, will those also coat as well? So would this be a method to coat other materials easily? This also brings up the possibility of elimination of caustic method coating. I don't like it because of the harsh chemicals, and so once you get some nano-coated plates together, you may be able to create a bunch of use this method to basically propagate the coating essentially from and because it's just sea salt, it would be I'm sorry, Rochelle salt. It's a lot less kind of a harsh chemical. Trying to think of some of the other stuff I was. Any questions?
Well, it's an interesting point you brought up, and somewhat a convincing case, but it's a different condition for sure, and we'd have to find out exactly what that coating is. I like that you did the second test there with it to produce the GANs and whatnot. Did after you produced this GANs, did it wear the coating off the wire, or was the wire still intact with the black coating and whatnot?
It's a good question. I don't know yet because this process here for the production of the GANs was just done tonight. I basically let it set overnight. It seemed like the coating was intact when I had the little amounts of GANs being formed, so small amounts of GANs. And then like maybe 4 or 5 hours ago, I cranked the power on to what I would normally use with the normal nano-coated plate or normal setup just to see what would happen. And it was a lot of bubbling on the wire, but it produced a lot of material, as much as some of the larger plates that I would put in there. I normally don't use a tiny little wire. I use a bigger plate or sponge or whatever. And but I haven't had time tonight to pull it out and look at it.
Interesting. Probably Armin would have something to comment about that. He's done some testing using the power and how much to use and not use. I think he has a maximum of like 0.1 amps or something in that range that he uses and recommends, but most of the time most people aren't using the power so much. It's faster but not necessarily better, because like Mr. Keshe says, it can produce a matter level GANs, but not as good for the plasmatic level, because you actually want to draw off the power rather than add power to the combo normally. But you know, there's different ways. There's different ways, definitely. So perhaps this can work for whatever purpose that your intent follows. You know.
Yeah.
And what are you going to use the GANs for? You have a particular experiment you have in mind with that?
No, not for this particular harvesting. I would just collect it and put it with the rest of the GANs that I have. This particular test was just to see if the nano-coated wire would produce similar effects that I've seen with the caustic-coated copper, and the answer is yes. Based on my testing, it shows the same end result.
Okay, does anyone have a question for David on that? Pretty quiet crowd here tonight. Okay, well, all right. Do you have something else there, David, or was that the completion of that part of your presentation or that experiment?
Yeah, that was it. I just wanted to share that information with others, so they could, if they thought it was interesting, they could pursue it.
Yeah, well, that's what it's for here, and that could very well inspire someone to carry on with their experiments or whatever. Indeed. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, David. And okay, well, what else do we have to show here? Lee, do you have something that you'd like to bring up at this point in time, perhaps?
No, I haven't been working on much. A couple weeks ago, my mom passed away, so I made a trip to Manitoba and back.
Oh, I see.
For about 10 days, so I haven't been working on much.
Okay, well, sorry to hear that.
But I did give my truck a good run with the Maggrav in it, but on the way down, I was bucking quite a bit of headwind, so I was still only getting 14, 15 miles a gallon. It wasn't good. On the way back, the 16.9, 16.8, and then finally I got above 17. First time in 2 years I got above 17 for 17.6. But I had 5 Maggravs plugged in.
Maybe they were all glad to be going home.
one under the hood, and then I had 2 in the cigarette lighter in the power point, and I had a wire from the battery to the cab from when I was doing my Keshe experiment a year ago, and I had 2 Maggravs onto that, so I had like a starship formation sitting on the dash and one hanging over the rearview mirror and one in the ashtray for that last go. But maybe I overpowered the computer chip finally. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
So, but it wasn't impressive results. It was only 5 or 10% improvement on that last tank of gas. But anyway.
Interesting.
So I got a report really this week.
All right. Well, thank you for checking in there anyways.
Just one other thing. A couple of days ago, I've always made my CH3 GANs with iron bars, and lately they've been coming out and saying you need to use galvanized metal, galvanized iron. So I made a bunch of pots up with galvanized metal there a couple of days ago. But I'm getting a whitish GAN so far. I don't know whether it's going to turn pink or red later, but it's sort of an unexpected result so far.
Yeah, that's what I've heard, is that if you let it go, then eventually it'll start to turn more pinkish, reddish tinge to it at least. So I guess the idea is to get it when it's just changing, get the finer sort of more from the field effect than the actual materiality of the zinc.
Yeah, because I'm guessing I got zinc GANs right at the moment.
Yeah, that's what I meant. You get zinc now, and then you do like a translation into the iron, or transition into the iron. But probably the lighter grade maybe is more valued, you might say, than the darker colors. I don't know exactly.
Anyway, I'll find out. It'll be running there for another few weeks.
Okay. All right, thank you, Lee. Okay, anybody else have something to present here? Eric, do you have something, or Thomas, perhaps? I have a question. I have a comment or question here from James in the chat. It says, Rick, I had an idea to securely attach 3 short plasma tubes or rings to the drive shaft of a vehicle. Could also attach rings to the inside of the hubcaps to all 4 wheels. What are your thoughts? Well, the plasma tubes or rings on the drive shaft, that could be tricky because number one, it would have to be balanced properly. Even a small amount of imbalance on a drive shaft can produce a vibration. And 2, the drive shaft goes at very high speeds, and it can be a fairly large radius for the tube that you're putting on there. So it might be traveling at upwards of 5,000 RPM or something like that, perhaps. And on that size, so if your tube can handle 5,000 RPM at that radius, then it might survive, but it would be tricky. If it came off, it probably wouldn't do any destructive harm necessarily, but it's an interesting idea though, because I mean, you're taking advantage of a naturally rotating shaft and just attaching GANs, tubes or rings to it. Makes sense, and maybe they should be built into every vehicle from the factory, mandatory. That would be interesting. Now, as far as the inside of the hubcaps on the wheels, well, you're in a larger radius, let's say, but quite a bit slower speed, about maybe 1/3 of the speed of the drive shaft on the wheels. So that could work. It's possible. Again, you have balance issues, possibly. Although they did used to have in the old days.
Rod ringer.
Let that go. Okay, it'll stop in a minute. So on the inside of the hubcaps on the wheels, what happens is in the old days, they actually used to have a liquid ring that they could attach to the inside of your wheel, and it would tend to be self-balancing, and was a trick they used to balance wheels and tires at that time. However, I mean, it could be done, definitely. It's just, it gets a little tricky. What if it comes loose and flies down the highway or something like that? That gets, because you've got quite a bit of weight when it starts whipping around at 60, 70 miles an hour or whatever. And a lot of centrifugal force there. So it would have to be built properly and attached properly to the hubcap and so on, so it doesn't provide a out of balance wheel situation. But I mean, it's a great idea if it could be done. Trying to think what else about that. For example, on the front disc brakes of some vehicles, they have they used to put at least sort of a spring around the whole disc, and that would help with vibration and squealing and whatnot in the early days of these disc brakes. So in effect, you could put a tube. No, that wouldn't be a good idea. The brakes get way too hot for most plastics and other kinds of tubes. So that wouldn't be such a would be a hot idea, but in the wrong kind of way. So, but you know, it's an interesting idea. It's just okay. Well, Jay says here that gives him a mad idea. Imagine pasting a CO2 GANs inside a tire well before changing a tire and putting it on. Do you think the car might seem a bit lighter as you drove along? Inside, I think you mean inside the tire rim, I guess, before changing, or inside a tire well. Oh, you mean inside the tire, where the tire sits on the car, the actual body of the car inside where the tire is, I guess. No, I haven't tried that, and welcome to try. That's something you should put on your DeLorean there. Don't you have a DeLorean going on? And James says, what about putting an ounce of GANs inside the tire? Well, that's another thing that could actually be possible. Here's the deal with that. They do use a sealer and balancer material that they inject into the tire. And you can, you know, squirt it in. It's used on ATV tires and especially lower speed implement tires and so on. And it'll actually arrange, it's a liquid that squirts in. One of them is called flat proof, and they use it for desert races and other off-road things. And this material spreads around the inside of the tire evenly, and it seals all the leaks and pinholes that might form. You could even drive a nail through and it wouldn't leak because this stuff seals up the leak right away. But it also rebalances the wheel, because a liquid inside of a sphere, or inside of a in this case a donut, that's your tire rolling down the road, it gets up to a certain speed and the liquid smoothly coats the inside of the wheel and stops any imbalances that take place. I've noticed that in some of my rotating devices, like even on this lathe here that has it's got a GANs ball sitting on it there, and at certain speeds it'll tend to vibrate and so on. It has to it finds its own balance factor at higher speeds. It tends to vibrate and then it zones in, and the liquids create a self-balancing situation on some things like that. So it's possible, but the thing about it is, if you just put GANs and some GANs water inside, then you've got water inside your tire, and that's not such a good idea, because the tires can heat up and then you've got steam, and that can cause trouble and alter the tire pressures and that kind of thing. So you got to be a little bit careful about what you're putting inside of a tire. I'm not sure if GANs gets along with rubber or not. Definitely wouldn't want to put caustic inside, or acids and that kind of thing. And you probably have a pretty hard time getting a tire guy to put something like that inside your tire. They don't even like the tire, the flat proof stuff, because they go to remove a tire on their tire machine and all this guck, sticky kind of gooey guck comes out. It could be a liter in there sometimes. Okay, I guess that sort of covers that. I don't know if there's any other questions or about that, but it may be possible. Why not, you know, coat the entire car and all of its orifices and containers. Basically, there's many of them. You have everything from windshield washer fluid to radiator fluid and brake fluid. Well, I wouldn't advise putting GANs in the brake fluid, but maybe there's an application there somewhere. On the other hand, definitely water and brake fluid do not mix, though. Don't do that, on my specific advice. And you know, what else? There's of course the tires and drive shaft that we've talked about, and there's other rotating parts on the motor itself and the alternator and the power steering and other such parts. Not to mention the interior itself, which could also be nano-coated. And the most important part of the whole car to nano-coat is the nut behind the wheel. The nut behind the steering wheel that holds the steering wheel, you might say. Yeah, according to the latest Cancer Blueprint Day teaching that happened yesterday or earlier today, depending on how you look at it, the CO2 GANs is some pretty interesting stuff to be using inside of our own machines, our own vehicles, namely the human biological machine. And it seems like it made a bunch of lab rats happy, and so much so that they didn't have to continue killing the lab rats as part of the testing, because the testing turned out so positive to start with that there wasn't really a need to continue sacrificing large numbers of the lab rats. So this may lead toward a different kind of compassionate testing. In fact, I suggested that the Keshe Foundation suggested, Mr. Keshe, that they start a program to basically help the lab test animals, save the lab test animals, the ones that are part of the normal pharmaceutical and other drug testing, cancer testing and whatnot. And they go through lots of lab animals, and there's movements against that and whatnot. But what if this GANs material really is as effective as it appears to be? What if we could take the lab test animals that are unhealthy from the lab, from the testing and all the things they do, and normally they would euthanize, that is, kill the lab test animals after the test is done. But what if these animals were given to the Keshe Foundation, essentially, or to volunteers, to take care of them through this GANs rejuvenation program? Is it possible that they could actually bring back some of these animals with huge tumors and whatnot? We saw in the cancer program yesterday that you could see the same lab rat that was given 2 big tumors deliberately, and within 20 days the tumors were completely gone from the whole belly region of this little white lab rat. And that was through an extreme program of daily injections of the GANs material into the tumor itself. But the lab rat seemed pretty happy to be I think I would be pretty happy to be let go of those huge tumors that were growing on its belly. And there's no sign of them after 20 days. That was pretty impressive. Anyway, where are we here? Let's see what else we got for comments. All right, what else there? Who's got something else to show and tell today? Come on, don't be shy. Bring it on. Let's see that new flying machine that you're holding back on. I know it's out there. Thomas, I know you got a flying machine. You're just not telling us yet. You're trying to educate us all first. And Jay, you better get that car ready soon. Not fooling around, eh?
I don't have a flying machine, but I have some idea I would like to discuss.
All right, close enough. Winner. All right, what do you got, Eric?
Actually, I have a flying machine, but it's an ordinary matter of state.
Oh, okay. What kind of flying machine would that be?
It's a glider.
Oh, okay.
I've been a glider pilot for 30 years.
Okay, and I assume you're not talking about the paper airplane type glider.
Oh, that's the one you sit in.
Yeah.
Hey, Eric, that makes 2 glider pilots here tonight.
Really?
Oh, who's the other one?
That's Lee Coates here.
Okay.
All right,
Yeah.
any other closet glider pilots here? Come on, now's your chance. Wow, okay, well that's a pretty high percentage out of whatever 10 people in the chat here. 20% are glider pilots. Who would have guessed? But seeing that if you're here, you probably have an interest in space and flying and want to get off the ground one way or another. It makes sense in a way.
I really hope it will be possible to make my own spaceship one day in the near future, I hope. But we'll have to see what Mr. Keshe gives us, because right now it's not that close, but
well, it may be close in many ways, because what he's given us is a very basic understanding of fields and whatnot, and the opportunity to start more and more examining life around us in terms of fields and feelings rather than elements and physicality. And that to me makes all the difference, because we start out with simple feeling of fields, and then from there it's a matter of just multiplying the intensity, the gradient basically. And I think that's going to happen pretty quickly in the next while.
well, let's hope that. But more on the ground, I sent you a picture. Maybe you can show it on the private chat. Zoom chat.
Yes, okay. And
it's because I'm, I have a friend that is a health practitioner, and he has a lot of customers with problems with asthma. So I'm going to make a breathing unit very soon.
okay, let me share my screen here and we'll just get that lined up.
Yes.
Okay.
This is a small design made in 3mm plexiglass. Is that the name you use also? Plexiglass, or do you call it something else?
Plexiglass is good. That would be acrylic, correct?
Acrylic plate, yes.
Yeah.
And I have seen some making these breathing units. They have just wound up some plastic tube and put it into a plasma water container, and they have a pumping some air through. But I was thinking, why do it this way? Why not follow the ordinary scheme with a magnetic and gravitational coil. So this is actually like a Magrav coil with 9 windings on both coils. So as you see, I have stepped the pits on these 8 plates, so you can start with winding the magnetic, the gravitational coil. You have to thread all the holes with a plastic tube. Then you get a coil inside, and when you come to the bottom, then you just turn around and go up back again. So you have 9 windings on each coil. And what I haven't done yet, there must be 2 holes in the top plate, so you can attach this to the lid of the container it's put into, and then you have these 2 tube ends. I will make a 3D printed part so I can have some connectors for it. But my question is, I've been thinking about how to use it then, because we saw Dr. Rodriguez. He used these 3-to-1 pads on the breast, and as I have understood it, then the the strongest field should be in a direction away from the healthy part of the body. So he put the largest pad at the middle of the body, and then the small pad at the outside of the breast. So the bad thing was going away from the body. And I heard the same with, if you put the pads on back and front of the body, then you want to have the big pad on the back and the small part on the front of your body, so that the spine doesn't get disturbed by something that is driven by the field. And having this in mind, I was thinking, what is best? To breathe in some gravitational air. You add the pump to the magnetic and pump it and take the output from the gravitational and breathe that. And then you have a patch around your upper body, so that you have the strongest field on the outside of the body and the weakest field in the lungs. And the other option is to breathe the magnetic air and no pad on the body. Any of you have any ideas what would be best of those 2 choices?
Hi, Eric. Hi, guys. It's Tom. Hi, Rick. Hi, everyone.
Hi. Hi.
Good morning in England. I don't know. I got a good answer for you, Eric. I mean, the answer is supposed to. I mean, it's not kind of obvious answer for every single situation. I think that's the main thing, and the most important, that's the proportions, and that's. I mean, it's not like because you mentioned something like if something gonna disturb your body because something with the plasma. Those kind of situation is physically impossible, because the plasma, I mean, your body gonna absorb only this type of energy, this amount of energy what really need. I mean, a part of the situation with the cancer, what the guys mentioned yesterday, with the CH3, because this is the energy, this is the strong magnetic guns, so they will fit everything what is inside the environment. So if you get some different cells, or some different type of life like a cancer, they will CH3 will probably fit them same way like they fit other part of the body. So that's only one important issue what the guys mentioned yesterday. And the direction is not you throw away something outside the body, because you basically stabilize your own field. That's a completely different story. It's not like taking. I mean, it's like a taking and giving, yes, but I think how to explain the different logic. You actually stabilize your own field. that's how things happen. And I think it's not really that important the way how you're gonna direct the field. This is the same story with the health plan. I mean, of course, if you get some critical place, probably the stronger field around the place is better. That's kind of logical function. That's the logical thing. That's the common sense, because it's same probably will happen with every type of reconstruction, because you need to actually generate a field around this kind of critical place, and that's the only one reason. And if you know this, you need this kind of specific field around to help the reconstructions and all this stabilizing the as original information, and in a consequence they rebuild the body using this information. You need the right field, you need the right environment. That's only one thing what you need to do, and that's all. I mean,
What about the idea of having like a saltwater sink or some sort of drain part of the apparatus?
We got the stuff inside the big health station. This is the part of your grounding. That's the way how you ground the system, because I mean we call this ground. I mean it's not. It's kind of the incorrect name. It's old name to the new thing, and because we actually it's like a ground, but it's not the ground. We actually, because we got the field didn't get any start and any end. We generate this. We actually create the two reference points, and the one reference point is start when we come through the system, and when we extract the field outside, let's say this way, and the other part of the system is the way when we just drag at the field, just keep it down. So and we generate the flow around. That's the idea. And the way how we need to actually receive the signal from one coil to another. This is the sink. This is the I don't know, the bottle with the salt water. Sometimes in some cases I was tested and work very well. The guns of silver, for example. This is amazing. Those sort of guns got amazing property, and like a strong guns, because we need the stronger field on the one side and weaker field on the other side, but not the all, because the one part is a gravitational. They suppose it should be strong by gravitational element. That's the reason why, for example, in a big medical system, we didn't get the batteries behind the coils. We get only pure coils. That's only one thing what we got. The other side, you get the coils with the batteries. So you get this, you get something what generate the field, you create the spin, the one field inside, one field outside, and you send through the to the other wall, to the opposite wall. On the opposite wall, you get different situation. You get same field what before was outside, inside, and the stuff was inside the coils is now outside, and you actually stay in the middle. That's the point, and you get this energy flow, and you actually middle of this energy flow, and that's the way how you reconstruct all this information, because part of this information try back to the main source, and in the middle of the road they inside you they create specific condition, and they create another field which is connected with your amino acid, with everything inside your body, and etc. etc. You get all the stuff on electros. You have plenty of them. The explanation, I mean, every single process was actually happening inside the system, because actually the same thing was happening inside the big let's see, health station happened between the two stackers when you're gonna if you're gonna build your stackers in a different way. For example, one is a counterclockwise system, the other is clockwise system. You actually create same thing, or even if you get same stackers, same magraphs, made in same direction, for example, counterclockwise, you just need only switch off. Replace the minus to the plus and the plus to the minus inside the one starter. So just kind of reverse all the electric current inside. That's only one thing, and you get two same thing, but on an opposite direction. That's the idea behind. So if you're looking for some kind of good medical system with the medical issues, I mean that's my way to understand all the story. I always go for this flow. Okay, it's not necessary, for example, do this flow by two walls, one stream, like a streamer and receiver. Another situation is, for example, generate this flow by, I don't know, maybe 4 magraphs on your floor, in a square position. And if you get possibility, put another the 5-1 top of your head, and generate something like a pyramidon shape, which is like a pyramid. And actually, you don't need this pyramid shape, because your head is a star formation inside your brain. So when you're sitting inside the system and you get helmet, for example, this is the good idea, the helmet. If you don't like build big health systems, but this is not for animals, actually.
Okay, let's get back to
helmet. So,
let's get back to Eric there and see if he's completed his thoughts on this. What do you think, Eric? Are you getting some feedback on that, or?
Yes, but the best the best answer is a response from the patients. But I would, because this is going to be used on humans. I know that several, this is just suspended in a bucket with some plasma water, and then the basic idea is that you put the field into the air that you breathe, and the breathing unit has a mask. And some of the air is outside air, and some of the air comes from this unit. And the reports have...
Just do it.
Yes, I will. Yes, I will do it, and probably I will start from the pump into the gravitational, and then from the gravitational to the magnetical, and then the magnetical to the breathing mask. Because then I emit the field in the body. And the idea of doing this, I could just have like a spool of tube and put it into the container with the plasma water. But by doing it this way, I get an interaction in the air because I have a different field strength. So every winding, there's an interaction between the inner and the outer coil, so because of the different field strength. So I think this will be more heavily treated air than if I just make a spool. Isn't that right?
I know, sounds fantastic.
Seems like some logic to that, yeah.
Yeah, I got some idea to water filter now, and everything is on the way now. When I get finished, I will do some photo and I will show you guys. But pretty much the same idea. I think yeah, absolutely, you should do this.
Yeah, it should look really good with all the tubes on there. It'd be quite spectacular.
This is MOSFET Rashid. I have something to talk about along this line. We have practical results as well as a very simple design to achieve what Eric is trying to achieve. I'm in Bangladesh. Obviously, it's difficult to get materials, so one has to think more at a fundamental level, like Eric was talking about, in terms of you are passing the air through a plasma field. So yes, I tried making the tube with the coil of another tube around it. But we have to make something very low cost, or in some cases, we want to give it out to people for free, and especially the poor people. So one of the goal here is to see what is the simplest design that is very effective. So we have I'll show you in a minute what I'm talking about, but the basic idea is that you essentially, when you create a coil, it's kind of like a cylindrical plasma, in a sense that if you see in the book too, it's kind of like the light structure. So if you have a tube and if you have a liquid plasma around it in whatever shape or form, the air passing through the tube will pick up the field. So given this basic assumption, so we wanted to test it. So we created something very simple, and then we tested it on asthma and blood pressure patients. We tested about, right now, about 10, 15. Asthma is very effective. Many people who are using various, oxygen mask and various other things from hospitals, the device. I don't know what they actually do, these devices do, but once they started out using our device, these poor people, they don't want to buy these things every week. So they are now using this device, which is keeping them well. So it works for asthma and blood pressure. Blood pressure, we haven't had complete success yet. I have talked to Dr. Klaus about it. We will test a few other ideas, but the basic principle that we're talking about here is, well, what we did. I'll try to share this device using my camera. I cannot share. Okay, I cannot share right now because I think Eric's picture. But I have a device which we are currently using that. Okay.
Yes.
I'll try. Go ahead, Eric. You. Okay.
May I mention?
Yeah. Yeah. I'll use my camera. Oh, what happened there? A second.
In the meanwhile, I could say that one of the reasons I made this little design, and I can cut it with a laser cutter, so it will be no effort for me to get it. As soon as I have drawn it, I can make it with a laser cutter, and the 8 parts slides into the 3 round things. And the reason I did this was the problem with the nano-coated plastic tube. Because if you touch it, if you touch the plastic tube, then you destroy the nano-coating. So my basic idea was that if I put the tubing on this coil former, as I would call it, and then I can nano-coat it in the container, it ends up in the very end, and I don't have to touch it after nano-coating. So the nano-coating would be intact by doing this way.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Actually, this nano-coating of the plastic works very well with some of my experiments with GANs making, which I'll talk about another time. But it actually is very effective to nano-coat the container while making GANs. But I'll talk about it. It's not, the experiments are not completely complete, but after I get a little more data, I'll talk a little more about it. But right now, let's focus on this device. What you are seeing right here, you can see it, right?
Yes.
Yes. So this is just a mask with the tube is at the front of the mask where my finger is, so they can breathe. Actually, this goes like this, and there's elastic around the head, and the tube just goes through a mix of liquid plasma. Now, the mix is important, obviously, and we have to be careful about this one, especially, I mean, if you look at the liquid, actually, it's an infinite coil around the tube, if you think about it, because it's just the air is picking up the field as it passes through as one breathes. And so it works very well, actually. Within 2 days, we have results. Within 2 days, the person was not using his other device, for example. That's one case. So, and it's very simple to use, and one can tuck this into the elastic that goes around the head. And anyway, so we are going to make the mask with cloth, and so that's the simplification we'll do. This is something store-bought, but the basic idea is very simple because it's just the tube going through it. Like Eric said, actually, it might be a good idea to nano-coat parts of the tube that's in the liquid. So I like that idea. I didn't think about it, but as Eric mentioned, I think it's a very useful thing to do given my experience with making other things. So this is very simple, but the fundamental is that the field is picked up as an infinite coil around the tube in a way. And this is similar to the idea that I talked about, the spaceship idea of using tubes. And it works very, very well. And from our test, and now we are going to do a large scale test, and we'll see how it goes. And I'll let you guys know if it works out very well. So that's all I had on this, really.
I think it's a very good idea because with a small amount of money, you can help many people.
I mean, it's other option, guys. I mean, but this is the little bit different thing, and you need a copper mag, and you need nano-coat this mag, and that's one of the old things from Mr. Keshe. I remember years ago was story about the mag of life. So just copper mag and nano-coat them and use them through the water. This is kind of one of the most simplest options too. I mean, but also, you know, this is the option with the nano-coating, and you get this piece of metal, not the plastic pipe. So that's only one difference. But I think it's the same idea. Every single different solution for the same idea, I think, is always very welcome. There's many applications and very different varieties. But anyway, guys, I got something to show you because that's the main point why I actually try at stall your time. if that's not a big deal.
What you got there, Thomas?
I got quite let's see, observation experiment. Long time ago, I got one extra coil because something happened with the magraph, or I didn't remember. Always, sometimes one extra coil, and you don't know what to do with this coil. So I was built some strange device with this coil. Just strange device. Was more about some experiment with the fields because I was start to feel the fields with my hands and so on.
Do you want to show your video or something there? Or do you have something to show?
The photo, and after then I got one video material was actually this device did. Yeah. First I'm going to start with some shots. All right. Thank you guys, by the way, for opportunity to share this thing. This okay. All right, and this is some annotation. I'll do some short animation. All right. Okay, and this is the device one I'm talking about. This strange something. This is the one magraph coil. Just this annotation. One magraph coil. Let's see, standard size, 81. Just normal. Nothing special. Just normal magraph coil. This is the magraph coil. So inside the coil is capacitor. That's all the construction. And I was got empty coil, and the capacitors come from the old magraphs because that's the small capacitors when you got when coil is quite small, and consequence of this when you got rod core inside, you get a quite narrow space between. So I've got this problem with this capacitors sometimes with normal magraphs when I try over jump load with sound like 1 kilowatts, 1000 watts. I get problem with the sparks. I get somewhere that I get sparks because something jump here. because the space was too small. I just I was disconnected from the Magraph a long time ago and put to the corner, and after then I was found them and was this coil and connect all the stuff. Very specific capacitor. I will show you in the next few minutes. All right, that's the basic about this device. Okay, and that's what I've done now, because I was basically made this connect all this stuff together, I don't know, 10 months ago. I just dropped it somewhere in a corner in a room. I left them, and when I do some cleaning, I was fine. This device, I decide, okay, I got some spare DC. What was the English name? DC power. 12 volts by 1000 milliampere. That's the DC. So that was the same thing, like you get power supply to your mobile phone charger, something like that.
Yeah,
That was
transformer,
after,
we call them, or
oh, transformer, yeah, transformer. And that was after plasma lamp. My lovely plasma lamp died, and that was one left, and I was using them like an extra. The idea was use this transformer like cascade system in a house, just to help, you know, spread the nano across the wires in a house. So the connection was quite strange originally, because okay, but I will start very quickly with the capacitor, because this is the important part. The capacitor is quite interesting construction, pretty much same like inside the original Magraph, but I mean pretty much same, but not the same. Okay. And the course, I need the colors. Okay. And the coils around the capacitors, it's like 4 coils very close to each other, put it together. I call them quadridium system, because this is just like a 4 capacitors. They create like a big one capacitor, because everything is bounded together around by one extra layer with a small tiny wire, and inside I've got the course. That's the standard model for this capacitor, but and normally you just, okay, the last explanation, normally you connect this one, for example, to the Magraph, and that's, for example, your plus, and this one you connect to your minus for, oops, through the minus, and this kind of standard way of thinking. So I guess, I don't know, that was kind of crazy idea, connect everything completely different way, just stop thinking very kind of classical stereotypical way of about the electric signal, about all this very conservative way of taking all this story with electricity. So the approach was completely different. I'll show you, okay, the next shots very quickly. Okay, that's from the top. As you see, the 4 capacitors here, the 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's because the capacitors get gap inside, and this gap, this small polyester. Oh, I was same issue a few minutes ago with the plastic. Silicon pipe, something like that, and inside the silicon pipe is let's say antenna.
Do you mean the plexiglass, or
yes,
is that what you were trying to say? Yeah.
Yes, thank you, sir. Thank you. And that's the idea. Okay, and of course the antenna inside is ready to connect to some part of the signal. I'll show you in the next few minutes. So that's the story with the construction. So that's for a different view. Okay, that's, you see from the closer view, that's how they look. So, and the connection is quite unusual because okay, it's not typical. As you see, I'll very briefly show you how it connects. So this is my minus, and the minus go through the coils, just straight to the coils. The minus are coils, didn't go to through the capacitor. So the capacitors with the cores on the minus all together. The signal come through the cores and after coils back to the rods. This is like a one signal go completely in 100% through the capacitor, and other signal go in 100% through the coil. No any connection inside the capacitor like normally we do. And the next thing, this is the connection from the core, sorry, from let's say my antenna, and antenna is connected to the plus. Sorry, yeah, something like that. So I didn't remember. Sorry, I was drawing the opposite situation, but it doesn't matter. You will connect in if you like connect in both ways. They work in both ways. It doesn't matter. Okay, but this is the main idea. You just connect the one. Let's say even the minus inputs to the capacitors, or even plus input. The one signal goes straight to the capacitor. The opposite signal go through the antenna, and the antenna is connected through the end with the coils. So okay, now I know. I just connect them on the opposite way. Okay, and this is the story with the antenna. In my case, okay, I'm gonna be correctly now, very quick. Okay, in my situation, the capacitors. Why do I? Sorry, that's the emotions. Okay, the capacitors are connected through the plus together with the rods. That's what I done. And my coils are connect through the minus together with the, as you see this strange line. This is the connection. This is the end of the for my system. This is the out from the coil.
So that's the only connection to that center wire, is that thin wire that you just showed that goes to the minus.
You come to the coil, that's your in the coil. Inside the coil, you get the signal through the gravitational way, and that's your out, and this is your connection.
Right, and that's the only connection to that center wire. It's insulated in the rest of it. Okay.
Yeah. You get this tiny pipe around to avoid every single problems. So, all right. Okay, that's the photo. In a second. That's from the bottom. As you see, the four capacitors. That's the rods. I was done the one trick because when I get a problem with this capacitors, I need to actually deconstruct them and recreate the cores once again. I was completely lazy. I decided, okay, I'm gonna do just normal rods with from normal wire. I do not don't nano-coat them. Absolutely, I would just put them like that, and they nano-coat by itself by basically last 8 months. And this is kind of very weak nano-coating layer on this rod. That's the reason why you got different colors. And the substance, that's of course, this is my homemade shellac with the ganses. the CH3, CO, CO2, typical gases, nothing special. And yeah, that's the capacitors from the bottom. So that's once again, that's was early stage. Okay, I show you the movie. What actually this device do, because that's the most interesting part of the story. So that was my research about the karmagraphs, because I just looking for some let's say new ideas through the karmagraphs, because the small nice device, I was thinking about replace the sun inside the magraph to do something different and check how they're gonna work. So okay, you get the movie. Okay, no any music, nothing like that. Okay, the camera is a little bit shaking, but do not worry, everything is okay. Okay, let's start. This was happened after 2 weeks when device was connected through the okay, and this is my diodes here, and they still lighting. This is the time how long they light. They start on all right, let's say 10 seconds, and they are still lighting. All diodes, I mean, all the system is already disconnected from the main grid, and this is like a really long loop. And the still lighting, the camera is not as good. They didn't show this, but the still lighting, this all right, they died. So I got from 10 to and I connect once again. Okay. So I didn't do an annotation of the movie because. All right, so all this operation takes like 40 seconds. So I was freeze the. Oh, sorry about this. Convenience. Wait a moment. I'm gonna put once again. This movie. So I was hold the energy inside this capacitor, inside the coil for 40 seconds. So I was made a kind of basic loop. All right. Should do now. This is like a 40 seconds loop on this equipment. Okay. Sorry for this quality. I probably need made the quality smaller. Sorry about that. All right. Sorry. Once again, now it should be all right. Okay. If you will observe the dot in the corner, they will show you activating time for the diode. So I think if someone got electric car and it's gonna do this coil and connect through the accumulator, I think the story with charging car already is in the past. You don't need any extra batteries, any extra charger, anything like that. You get something like a 40-second ahead. That's much how you need it, because basically the circuit creates something like a small but kind of nice loop. I think is long enough to use inside the car and do not worry about accumulators any longer in your life.
Yeah, that's a good idea, a good demo. It might work better too with higher energies going in. That might actually store better. One thing that goes on with those little transformers, many of them, or I think all of them, if you open them up, they actually have a capacitor inside, so it is like a little battery in a way. And those power packs by themselves will light an LED for a period of time. Not very long.
I mean, idea is quite basic, because I mean, maybe not everyone, but many of us get a bunch of old DC supply. I mean, small on a small voltage after mobile phone and stuff like that. And so the observation was quite easy. So if you're gonna look through the car system, through all this electric grid inside the car, you will find you got plenty of transformers inside your car. So your car is already prepared to take the stuff on a board and actually be completely independent by a small nano-code device to send back the plasma energy. Because the point is, this 40 seconds on the transformer is not electric signal. This is the plasma environment, and we just take over about all the system. It's 100% takeover by plasma. And
Jay's been asking here, I'm not sure if you've answered it in the last 5 or 10 minutes or not, but he's asking, can you explain what the antenna is for? And then he's saying, Rick, nobody's ever went into what these devices actually do. I'm confused as to if they're able to gather electricity from the atmosphere to power devices, or like a type of radio to receive sounds or thoughts from the environment, or someone else who has a similar device. They all look great, but what do they do?
What they do, this is another version through the car graph. Okay, I will show you the prototype, because I do now the next prototype to check more advanced, environments, and a few things more with this system. I need to build a new one. That's why I'm showing now. This is how look all the elements through the system, and the system is actually designed to the car. This is the car graph, basically. It's supposed
but what does it do? That's what Jay is asking. What does it actually do? Does it gather electricity? Is it a receiver or a transmitter?
This is the plasma field. This is the plasma field. You generate the plasma field. You generate the interaction inside your field, and this interaction change environment around you, and everything start going completely different way. So
right,
you don't
okay, that's a good way to put it right there. Because he's asking, he just got this basic question of what does a car mag-grab do? So maybe, just keep addressing that for a minute. Maybe
the answer is a good question, because we always sometimes discuss.
Yeah, we immediately jump into, oh, here's my latest car mag-grab, without saying what is the process. We talk about it plasmatically coating a vehicle. For example, I talked to a friend yesterday who is into structured water, and he says they can put a few drops of structured water into the radiator, and it changes the whole vehicle, and it starts to make it feel different and run better, and so on and so forth. And this is the same thing I was telling him on the claims of the mag-grab unit. But what is your impression, at least, on what does the mag-grab do? And if anybody else has an opinion or impression that they'd like to give, then after Thomas, then maybe we should hear some of that. So go ahead, Thomas.
All right. So basically, the idea is how to change environment using everything what we got inside the cars. Like a Lego box, we get small device. We just connect through every single machine, and we hack this machine on 100%. And we just create completely different environment. This is like take all this machine and put to the back, and inside the back is completely different environment, completely different gravitation, different. Everything is different, and in result of this difference, the car behaves like I don't know, like spaceship. Let's say that.
Well, how do you know it's different? What's different?
Different is
how do you notice the difference?
For example, the basic measurement is gasoline consumption. One of the car graphs when I done from my mate, he called me. That's a story for 2 weeks ago. All the story happened. He called me very, very happy, and it's like, wow. you know, because I didn't drive this car because I got my company car. This is my private car. I didn't drive them very often, but I got something like was average 80 miles or even 100 miles in one side and other 100 on the way back to home. And normally his car consumes some like a 7.1 liter of gasoline, and he called me the next day very early morning. It's completely too early for me, but he just was so excited and calling, Tom, amazing things happened. The one thing that my car repaired itself. I got a broken light and light started to work perfectly. It's amazing. Another thing on this roads, on this 200 miles in one and other side together, when I was back to home, I was close to gasoline station, and I was born only 3.5 or 3.4 liters. So that was like no, something like a 50% less. And my feeling when I was driving the car was extraordinary. I just feel extraordinary well, like you know, peace of mind, very, you know, huge love in my heart, you know, for every species across the planet. And this environment was amazing. I got Mikey because he drive with the kid. He got small kid, and I got small. And he told me he got the small kid on the back seats, and the kid was sleepy, was nice, was sweet, was no any problems, and it was fantastic. I was actually extremely surprised. So if someone asks about what's this environment do, so the first thing, your gasoline consumption gonna be smaller. The next thing, every single fraction inside your car, what you got inside your car, gonna be smaller. So the problem with what was the English name when everything got broke, because they extend basically because mechanical, you know, device and rotate very fast and stuff like that, and is a fraction inside the action engine, and this fraction destroy the engine, so you got less fraction inside the engine, so your car behave much more better, much more smooth.
Okay, well,
You know,
Jay asks, does it create an environment where the car's field strength or matter state changes, and it cuts through the wind or wind drag or wind resistance easier, or something like that?
My favorite answer is just build this motor for yourself. There's only one coil, this one evening, and nano-code them and check by yourself.
Right, that's a good idea. Because what I wanted to get to too is, like, are you, like you often talk about one reactor being stronger than another and so on. And so that means you're feeling something from them. You're feeling the fields in order to evaluate what kind of fields are coming from different devices. So I think that's an important factor. If you're working with a number of maggrav units, then you get to sort of know them in a way. And knowing them means you're feeling the fields. What's the vibe of this device? And what's the vibe of this device? You know, I have done a similar thing, you know, with automobiles, and you know, I get the vibe of an automobile. Can be the exact same make and model of another one, but everybody who drives their car will have a certain vibe with that car. And the engines aren't the same. No two racing engines are the same. For example, they each have a certain sort of personality or vibe to them, which you can start to feel more than feel or sense, you might say, rather than it's not an intellectual understanding so much as just a feeling, or it's like when you meet someone new, you get a feeling something from them, you know, like their
something what
frequency.
You feel it, something what you feel it, and you're never gonna describe.
Right. Beautiful pictures, by the way, Thomas. Thank you for showing such nice, clear close-up pictures. That's really a bonus.
Okay, I just try you guys just clarify how I build this prototype, all these technical issues. So as you see, this is the capacitors. They this is the was early stage. They actually put it together by stripe. Normally, is a copper wire around. It's like a one chunk, one block of capacitor with the 4 slots. Basically, that's the idea for this for this device. All right. Okay, let's go to the next shots. Now the closer view. As you see, everything, this antenna, let's say antenna, this is streamer and receiver. The functionality come in both channels. Is highly isolated from capacitors to avoid any problems in the futures. So, because this prototype is on the way now, is on my desk, is prepared now to nano coating and all the stuff. Because this one, I would like to check in kind of actually the home grid, in the homes, in the home, inside home. So if I got sort of thing like a few seconds ahead, I got my heartbeat. So if I gonna connect this through the home wire, the possibility the bills will go down very quick, and official energy usage very fast. That's my kind of, I expect what's gonna happen, but I don't know yet. This is the system from the bottom. This is the all the connection. So because I was just talking and do not drop you an explanation what's actually happened here. Okay, this is my. Let's go to the white one. That's my in through the Maggrav coil. That's my outs to the Maggrav coil. That's my outs. Let's say Maggrav coil. And this is, because that's a quite interesting thing with the capacitors, the way how I connect them. That's my in through the capacitors, and the in come the first like the first signal comes straight through the coils around the cores. This is the first elements, and the signal go to the first one, another. Just like a 1, 2, 3, 4. After one is another. After another is another. This kind of order. And after when signal is done, after all this coils, they go out and back to the cores, and they connect same with the same logic, and the signal go out. So if you come this way, you come to the capacitor, but on the coils. When you get out from the capacitors, you get out from the rods, from the cores. So that's the only one difference. So, and what is more, this connection, this should be like that, because this connection is a connection with this antenna. Maybe it's not as visible as very well. It's to make a little bit shiny. Okay, and the next shot is probably closer view, and oh yeah, you see now this, I think. Because okay, that's probably the best one. So once again, very quick explanation with the colors, and everything gonna be clean. That's my in, that's my outs. The coil go on one. Let's say gonna be minus, if I could remember. Yeah, and the capacitors, the first signal go come through the coils around, and after then go to through the cores. Go through the cores, and from one to another, and it's out. and so, and the coils, actually the out from the coils is connected through the let's say antenna. So I think everything is clear now. I need more explanation. And the last shots, and the one story why I was use antenna, this kind of crazy idea to spread the fields, because when you got the fields around all this object, let's say like that, I just spread the fields. Let's say drag at the fields like that. That's only one reason. And how they work, because you see, this is the like a small coil top of the antenna, so they collect energy, and this is the open end, so they leave it down, so you get your direction inside the system. So that's the main concept. And fortunately, this system, for some reason, know how to freeze in conjunction, of course, with the transistors, with all the other parts of the electric system. He know how to freeze and generate the signal for the next 40 seconds. So that's the story with this funky device. So now is a part to do experiments in a quite heavy environment inside home electric grid, and let's see what's going to happen behind the home magraphs. Let's see. So
all right, great.
But I really, guys,
Thomas,
yeah, I
have a question. You have made lots of car magraphs. What kind of personal experience do you have with the car's performance and that kind of thing?
Okay, thank you for the question. It's a fantastic question. I need to tell one thing. The most funny thing, because I live in London. For last years, I always live in a really big towns across the Europe, really big towns, and this idea to take care about parking space terrified me completely. And I do not drive any car. I didn't get any car. All the things come from the people who actually, my friends and the friends of my friends, who actually use the magraphs when I build sometimes in a commercial environment, for example, in commercial trucks and stuff like that. I had quite fantastic situation, because even I didn't get now probably valid car, absolute drive license. I didn't get any single car. I got plenty of professional drivers around me, and those guys, that's the best test area for all the magraphs, because they sometimes drive the cars for 20 years, and they across all Europe. These guys who spend sometimes months on the road and with the big trucks, and they got huge experience. They know what's happening with the car. They know where a car is fine, behave better, and all these things. So I base more on the professional experience in professionalist, not on myself with this stuff. But I like it, because when you hold this magraph, you feel that's what's happened to me. I feel the field, and it's a really nice feeling when you hold them in the hand. It's very funky.
There was a comment from Jay. He seems to be a little afraid that he says, Thomas, if I make one, is there a chance that the magraph takes over control from me and causes an accident, though?
Absolutely. They're gonna turn you to some space veg with the 7 hands and 45 legs, and you start to see some different dimension, and you're gonna fly outside by your window, and you're never gonna find
No, wait, you're talking about acid.
Okay, I'm joking. I'm joking, guys. No, yeah. It's fantastic. One thing, guys.
Yeah, I haven't heard of anybody having an actual negative response that way. There are a few people have reported getting an opposite effect with the gas mileage and so on, and maybe I recommend that they just reverse the connections, because maybe they're contrarian or something.
Sorry for cutting.
Oh, go ahead.
I get testimonials for a few drivers, because one of those guys, after years spending inside you know, a small chamber inside the car, they got sometimes health problems, mostly with the back, and seriously problems. One gentleman seriously facing some even the surgery, or not heavy operation, but some story with the surgery was kind of, you know, was kind of not the best situation for his back. And after also the few visits inside the health system and big health units and stuff like that, he actually got the carmograph, and he decided the carmograph inside his car actually bring his back to the normal condition, and all the problem stops. And he's not only one driver. I got seriously few testimonials for few people who were, and this is like kind of standard situation is every time when someone got some health problems, and we drop them the maggraph to the car and they start using them in a car, automatically it's like an automat, the body back to normal, the health problems started gone, everything back to normal, and people feel fantastic. So that's kind of typical reaction. No any problems, nothing like you know, you're gonna die, nothing like that. It's even opposite situation. The people report me they feel fantastic, they get better attention, they, you know, no one for example the what's the English name, the roads and the crashes and things like that on the road.
Right, yeah. I mean, unless that's, you know, if you go into it and you're afraid for some reason, then that might, you know, bring on having an accident or something. You should never
Exactly.
be driving afraid in that sense. But on the other hand, so a lot of it is what our intention is, what our belief system that we bring into the whole picture. If you're you know, chronically doubting, for example, and just have no confidence and they're completely doubting that it's going to work, then it may not work just because of that blanket of doubt that is put on things. It's hard for magical things to happen, for example, when there's that doubt. When a magician starts a show, they say something like, "I don't require you to believe any of my magic tricks, but if I do ask that you suspend the mood of disbelief." In other words, just relax and try not to get into that mood of disbelief or extreme skepticism, because that can actually taint or color or destroy an experiment, when part of the experiment is based on intent. It's kind of almost a faith-based idea in a way, but it turns out that intent and our mind actually is very, very important for creation of new events and creation of our world right in front of us. So this is a great little structure you got here, Thomas. It looks like a bit like a UFO, or, you know, like
Exactly.
Jay says, like a craft or a drone from Zeus or something. Yeah.
I've got in the last seconds, guys, and I'm gonna left you. Because I've got a few questions from my mates, because we already discussed this construction a few days ago, because it's after first test, and we know what's happened. We know this is like a extra amplifier for signal inside the circuit. And the guys we just discussed with the story with the antenna, because, you know, with this first version the antenna was quite huge, and one of my mates asked me, okay, how am I gonna put this stuff to the car? It's almost impossible. And the concept with antenna is quite basic, because I just try operate with the same field. You don't need that big antenna. I mean, I got kind of luxury. You don't need to worry too much. Just use the proportion, like, you know, one of, for example, let's say this is my 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, and this is my 1, 2, something like that. This is kind of my way of thinking, but this is my, this is my home experiment. All the stuff will stay at home and will be connected through the 230 watts and 50 hertz in my home grid, and I will check what's gonna happen with this.
I was just thinking, what if you had a nano-coated wire that went to an short antenna like that was outside, mounted on the car outside, and you could actually connect it to the maggrav and position somewhere in the vehicle, similar to a radio, and the radio antenna is connected now.
Actually, you don't need it, because if when you contact your maggrav to the car system, let's draw like that, that's what's happened in just few seconds. Your car automatically start the second position, and you already got the field. And all your car,
but it would look really cool to have a little copper antenna outside the vehicle. People would wonder, what's that for? Oh, well, that's attached to my maggrav unit. Let me show you.
Funky idea, funky. That's cool.
Actually, that antenna is really important, because I'll tell you my experience. Because you don't really need the maggrav, you just need the antenna. When I was starting out with the Keshe technology, actually, I used something like that in my car. And I can tell you my experience. And actually using a coil just like that, actually a pair of coils, Mr. Keshe talked about it. And these coils are I used about 6 turns, and I have used it in 7 cars. I get very consistent results, 20 to 30% full efficiency improvement, 30% power improvement in general. And also it changes the steering characteristics. And I made a car maggrav, but I didn't install it, because I get all the results people talk about just by installing these 2 coils. And so this antenna is very important.
Maybe sure, but I think the good idea is, I'm not joking, but you don't shoot it. I mean, this is only
no, it's not. I'm not joking. I'm talking about very experimental result. Oh, go ahead.
I was done this experiment because I've got all the accumulators, really old accumulators, like 10-year-olds, and from one truck, and I was try a few different types of rescue action with these accumulators. I use the antenna, but this system is not. It's a little bit more. It's not only what you got from antenna. For example, the answer for this question, because my mate asked me about the story with the antenna, because normally it's quite long. I mean, in my case, in my prototypes, but normally if you got the size of the coil, this is the diameter, this is half of the diameter of your coil. This is the size your antenna maximum, because you still got the field. I mean, not necessary. I mean, but if you're gonna stick with this proportion and you're gonna hold this antenna around this field, will be fine. I mean, I just stretch this antenna a little bit higher to stretch the field. Basically, that's only one difference. And important thing, the connection. Antenna is connected through the coil. But the best option is just check, if you got time and opportunity, just check every single possibility, because this is always as the most bigger fun to do experiments. And the point is, because if you do not connect antenna, because this is basically Caroline core, we call this antenna, but obviously look at the construction. You get the coil. All right, I'll draw the coils. That's the maggrav coils, and that's your capacitor. That's the core inside your capacitor, and that's another core. So if you look at the situation, what you got? You got double core. This is the Caroline core, inner core, and this is the outside core, and that's your maggrav, and that's your field, the environment around these 2 fields. So it's pretty much same thing. I mean, I didn't go that far. I just translate this idea from the capacitor and the Caroline core, basically from this original big reactors with the Mr. Macron. done long time ago. The big reactors, you know, the spinning, they with some, you know, the shielding inside and outside and all this stuff.
Yeah, well,
So,
you got Jay excited. He says, Rick, could your whole car become out of phase with time? And if you did hit a tree, would you just pass right through? Could a device like this distort time and space and extend the whole width of the car and for everyone in it? Or is that just thinking too far away?
I don't know. Maybe someone will start flying with the car. I would love to see this kind of situation with a small device.
Well,
I don't know
that's
how.
what Mr. Keshe originally said was he's install a maggrav device in the front and a maggrav device in the rear of the vehicle, and that would have the balance fields between and so on, and that would produce levitation. But I haven't seen it yet, but people do say it's a smoother ride and so on, and easier to steer and this kind of thing. There does seem to be inertia type effects that take place. Go ahead.
I think that the cool thing with the system is because you got the. I think this is quite a good combination. If you spot the way how you combine all the stuff, it's quite a really good idea, because you get one field, you get another field inside the gravitational, which give you to work like a magnets. So the next one inside is another gravitational, small, which is stronger magnets, because that's what's happening, is the amplification effect. So let's here, this is like basically amplification from here to here. And on the middle we got magnetic fields. So, and all the interaction between the fields will always try catch each other, and they always will try jump and manifest everything what we like to manifest inside this field, because same situation when we got field, it will manifest outside the coil. Same story, because we actually, when we create environment here, we also create environments outside the coil. So this is very kind of simple system, because the only one thing that's the way how I like to check this system in the next few weeks. For example, I would like to build the second one is already done. I need to finish them and use them like a small health section. Because look at the guys. I mean, just look at the system with the the most bigger let's say in the most pure way. We got one and another one, and the next field what we got, draw like that. All right. And it's just so simple to do with this kind of system. Just if you create a field similar to the health units and stuff like that, even if you like replace the reactor, because that's basically that's what you got. This is the fully working reactor. And normally when you worry about the grant, that's your grant, and that's your connection to the space, energy, and your amino acids and stuff like that. That's how the system works. So if you got two systems like that and they connect to the opposite direction, so on between depends how strong is the voltage or how strong is the load around the system. I mean, few parameters, you got a strong field inside. So this is your magic space. And if you like apply the next machine to push the field, was in the last lectures. So this kind of small reactor, because that's what we got here. It's quite important thing, because I mean, if like they understood this like a reactor, this is the size of the coil. So the one coil is 144, other is 81. So we get the difference between the coil. The this is like one train. This is like a platform, and this platform traveling with the speed. This is your platform, and this platform gets is like a, I don't know, like a big truck, huge truck, and this truck gets speed 81 miles per hour or something like that. And top of this truck is like a small car, and this small car speed up with the 144, and the difference in this like how to explain in English. You just accumulate the speed. You just go higher, 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 higher. There's like a compression effect.
Acceleration. Amplification.
Acceleration. This is amplification and acceleration of the speed. This is the difference between the two coils, because the one gets smaller value with the interaction, the other gets bigger value. So the difference between, you get huge interaction. So if you get the right size for reactor, and this is the really cool size, so you get the right speed, because this is the story with the, for example, when you try to translate to the normal reactor, when you get the small electric engine and everything speed up, this average speed, this is to start reaction, this is something like something something plus minus 2,500. Yeah, this is your to ball. This that's how look the system. It's the same thing, absolutely same. But this is the dynamic system, and you need the electric engine on the DC and stuff like that in a plasma condition. But this is already plasma condition. I don't know how the system will be strong on the end, because you know, I already started playing with the system and discovered these things, you know, I don't know, a week ago, and I just, you know.
Thomas, James is asking, are the capacitors GaNsed? And to ask about the coffee GaNs. What's the deal with that?
I was joking. Okay, one of the observation with this system on the DC, I was applying a small amount of GaNs here, just some whatever you like. If you like coffee, put your coffee GaNs, whatever you like. This is the place to your GaNs, and seriously work really nice way, because if you're gonna connect with your amino acid, your favorite, let's say favorite GaNs plus amino acid plus zinc GaNs, which is just your emotional side, and for example copper, CO, I mean whatever. I mean I'm gonna left you guys with the combination, because it's not that's long time, you know. 1 week is not enough to check all the combination. I didn't get that. I didn't build that many prototypes. This is very fresh thing. I just checking few different opportunities. I mean, the good idea is find self way with all the stuff. I mean, if you get some favorite gases and you like to do some experiments, you know, feel free. Absolutely. So. And of course was no, that's the CH3 also too. But the gases, this is always I think pretty much similar story like we do with the magraphs. Whatever you like to do, basically. It's difficult to find some standards, and for magraph, yes, we got standards with the blueprint. So
very good, Thomas. There's another Tom that's got some magrav stuff that he'd like to show in a video. Maybe we can move to that briefly. And
all right. Wait a minute.
Or do you have some more you want to show on this?
Okay. Oh, guys, the last 3 minutes. Please, about last 3 minutes. I show very briefly the photo, and as you see, the capacitor bounded together with the tiny copper wire. That's the final stage. Oh, you see how all the stuff inside, as the kind of inside view, all the secrets. That's from the top, that's from the bottom, that's all the stuff connect together. That's once again from the bottom, That was like a test assemble process to check everything fitted correctly or not. And this is the way how I do all these capacitors. This is the first layer, and because that's a secret, I go through the end, and when I do, I back again in the opposite direction. So I do something like a spark gap between the two layers inside the capacitor. So this is the way how they finish. I mean, the good option is for the practical way, don't do this. I mean, stay here, because if you're gonna put too deep, you will get so many problems with the cores. So better option is make some bigger margin inside, it's more friendly. So that's middle of the road. I look, put it together. This is the fully working system. I mean, not the nano-coated yet. Before nano-coating, it's like a really spacey, I don't know, X-wing machine. This is the course. This is very traditional course. Now I use the difference. Now I use the armored connection like core. But you know, whatever you like to do, whatever you like to experiment, feel free. It's always a few different versions. That's the paper. So and that was the first capacity. That's the capacity. All this paper and even the foil was ripped off after them, because I got problems with this capacitor. So on this final version, I got only just piece of guns with B-walks and stuff like that. So that's all. So that's all stuff from my side. If you guys looking for a good idea for the MAGRAPH card to save your gasoline, to save your life, to save your good feeling and funky life, just do it. Don't wait. Just do it. All right, thank you.
Very good, Thomas. Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Excellent. Okay. How about it, Tomek? Would you like to show your video of your MAGRAPH, 220 volt MAGRAPH?
Yes, hello everybody.
Hi.
I don't know if my internet connection is good enough to avoid breaking in voice. Do you hear me well?
Yes, it seems good. I've got an echo. I can hear my voice. I guess it's because your speakers are turned up and so on. It's echoing. But it'll be okay when I turn my microphone off.
Okay, I will put down a little bit my speakers.
Okay. Still get an echo, but it's a little bit better. There, it's almost gone there now. But you might have a hard time hearing.
Okay.
Headphones work better, but...
hear you. What about now?
That seems good, actually. Yep, that's perfect.
Okay. Special greetings to Thomas from London.
You're in London? London,
no,
England now?
In Poland, in Warsaw.
Oh, Poland, okay. Yeah.
Okay. I will share my video. Okay, is it okay now? Do you see the video?
Good there, yes. Thank you.
Okay. So, what is the issue? I noticed that everyone connect their MAGRAPHs after they build and put vattometer before and after trying to reach any results. And I decided to do it another way. So I connected this white cable. Do you see my cursor mouse? So I connected to the grid, to the input, the white cable. This is this one. But before I connected the output, I plugged in the meter. And I play the video. It's 10 minutes, but I can move it faster. The whole experiment took me about an hour. Here is a counter measuring the time of the experiment. And here's a meter.
And the meter is on what setting? It's on the volt, DC volts or AC volts?
DC, yes, it is DC volts.
Okay.
Excuse me, AC volts.
AC volts. Okay.
Alternating.
Right.
So I took the plug and I put it into the socket, and it was actually my second attempt, because first I made it on my table, and I noticed that the measurement showed 2 volts at the start and started to grow. So I ended this operation, set up the camera, and decided to record it just in case. And as you can see, the same situation we have here again. There is the number growing. First of all, it was quite rapid grow to 73, 5, 6, 7, 8, and so on. So I made a little bit faster. Okay, I just tried to make here after I reach 100 volt. I tried with this meter. I don't know its name in English. The probe. And when it reached 100 volt, I tried to measure if the bulb will light. And of course it is. You can see here the bulb is lighting. And because it took too much time, I speed it up. Okay, and it grew and grew, so I can move it forward.
And now you have 220 volts going into the unit, right? That's what your
Yes, it's
line voltage
220
is.
volts.
Okay.
Here's the real time, because I noticed that at a certain time, the voltage jumped from about 135 to over 140. And it was the only time the measurement jumped so much. As you can see, in other cases, there are just jumps by 1, -1, and so on. Then I left the setup, going back to my activities, and as you can see, it's a slowly increasing of the measurement. So at this time, I decided to show the whole setup to make sure that everything is connected and there is no cheating. And in that way, I received about 156 volts of alternative current. And I started to think, what about what is going on coils on various stackers, on the first level, the second level, and third level. And I decided to measure it in other places. So after reaching 156 plus minus 1, I took the positive. I don't know how this red and black sticks. What is the name?
Some people call them probes, or yeah.
Oh, I'm going too fast. First of all, I tried to repeat the experiment, and I disconnect MAGRAPH from the grid and connect it again. And the situations was my observation was that I reached 100 about 15 at start after connecting in again, and it grew, and it starts growing again. And I was wonder what is the situation, why is that? So I took the probe and started to touch in various places. And I noticed that the current is different in other places. And it was and my observation was that I don't know how to say it in English. It changed. Oh, maybe we just watch. I will do it again. I move it very fast because I decided to start it from scratch. So here we have 220. This is the input. Actually 210, but I don't know. It's a question of a meter or what. And I repeat it again because I wanted to get some light. Yes, and the wiring is set up that here is the input of the live, and it goes to the upper spring. Then it goes by in this wire.
Wondering what process you use to nano-coat your wires that you're measuring.
I use nano-coating in a plastic container, adding aluminum foil and Coca-Cola bottles, just the top of the bottle screw. And I made it twice, leaving after each hot water added, leaving for 2 days. After the time, I placed the wires to another container. When I pour some caustic soda liquid from the first container, and for 2 or 3 days I made the polarization. Is it okay?
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
And going further, I noticed that the voltage drops. Okay, and finally, I plug in again in the output and continued my observations. And as you see, it is growing again. I wanted to try if there is any detection of current after disconnecting from the grid. But
how quickly did it die? It was hard to tell there because your clock was, or is it in real time when that happened? I was trying to figure out, was it similar to take a couple of seconds, or was it immediate?
No. It is in real time. The moment of disconnection is in real time. Here you have it. It's quite rapid.
Yeah, okay.
And I stopped at 156. There was it was the highest number I get. I stopped my experiment here, but it's not the end of the whole experiment because.
Well, the interesting part is if you put a load on your unit, is that the actual output for plugging into if you were to plug in a lamp or something?
Yes, this is the place I made to mount the output cable.
Right. So what you should do really, because right now you're measuring the output voltage, but there's no load on your output except for the voltmeter itself, which is a very, very tiny load. And so yes, if you had a lamp in there and you measure in parallel to that lamp, like still measure the same as what you're doing now, but have the lamp plugged in at the same time, that would put a load on, and you might find the voltage actually goes up when the lamp is plugged in.
You're reading my mind. Okay. I'm afraid.
That's part two.
This is part 2 of my experiment.
Okay.
unfortunately, I don't have it recorded.
Oh, okay.
I guess, Stone, again, probably very typical observation for MAGRAPH behavior is, let's say, self-adopting voltage value through your load. And the most funky thing, if you connect, for example, a few different type of loads. For example, one gonna be typical heater, and next gonna be something with the electric engine, and
Thomas,
gonna be that, yeah.
I will start this experiment, and after that, if we could talk a little bit more, okay? Because you are.
Let him finish his thing there, Thomas. He wasn't finished his description. I already blew the punchline for him once, and now you're gonna do it again. So we better let him finish. Go ahead, Tomek.
Okay. And after that, I took my setup, placed it on the table again, and finished the connection of the cable on the output side with socket, and put the meter on, and the result was the same. It was about it was growing, but it started growing from the point we got here. So it was about 150 volts. And because I have a free socket, Tomasz, przedłużacz.
Extension lead.
Extension, yeah. So I have two more. So I put the 60 watt lamp, and the measurement immediately jumped to 220 volts. Immediately, it was just an atomic reaction. And after I disconnected the bulb, it stood at 220 for infinity, I would say. It just stood at 220. It was in my mind that was what Thomas started saying, that it adjusted to the load I need. So the MAGRAPH in some way it learned that 220 is okay, but I disconnected it. It left my MAGRAPH unconnected for about an hour or half. And because I haven't recorded this experiment with bulb, I decided to repeat it again, and this is on the second video. Unfortunately, I have it on my phone. But in the second situation, my second attempt, I plug in the MAGRAPH to the grid, put in meter, and it was 206 volts. And the moment I turned off my lamp, the readings jumped to 220 and stay at that level. So this is the second part of the first experiment, and the second experiment is going on right now because I connected my MAGRAPH to car battery, and it is about 10 volts, and I noticed that the situation, the whole thing repeats again. So the measurements started to grow from 3.2, and now it is 7.5 after half an hour. And I wonder how will the situation be if I put my MAGRAPH in 220 grid again. Will be there any memory, and will the MAGRAPH build fields again? or will he already know that this is 220 grid made for 220 supplies?
Breaker, are you showing a video? Because I have a
blank. No. There is no video. I have to.
All right.
Download the video from telephone to show it.
I think, Tomek, I've got. I don't know. This is the best explanation, but probably I've got something for you, because I was many times on the same mood, and actually this is something when I do very often. When I polarize the coils, I get bench supply. It's like a DC bench supply. Many of us probably get something like that. It's like a few different standards, maybe 24 volts, maybe 36, maybe 17, 18, something like that. So, but this is the DC supply. And kind of thing, one of the things why I really like to do sometimes, this is the connect the very first system, not straight through the, even if it's designed through the normal electric grids, normal AC. The first things when I do, connect all the stuff through the DC supply. The one thing, this is the kind of health and safety regulation, let's say, because sometimes this is the prototypes. I'm really not sure the capacitors are, okay, they dry, everything is fine, no any electric sparks, nothing like that. So I basically check the circuit on the DC, because it's kind of easy thing to do. And I was observed something quite interesting. The result of this experiment, because that's probably the most interesting. If you got inside your loads, for example, air condition, something with electric engine, with typical electric engine working in a DC condition, and a piece of circuit in a DC condition inside your house, connect to the maggraph, they actually behave much better if you actually do this extra interaction on your coils. Because remember, everything behind your transformer on your, whatever you're gonna connect to your grid in your house. Sometimes, mobile phones, they get charges on they transform from AC to DC. Sometimes even your computer, for example, your probably monitor, your TV, many devices use normally DC, and they got only transformer on the way. So, but the plasma, like pure form of information, they didn't see the difference. So you already got piece of field for the direct current on your coil, and the process and the adaptation process. I don't know, this is the best name. They go faster, I think. The reduction, for example, all these devices go much more faster. That's much more faster. It always depends on situation, depends your perspective of time, but you see the difference. You see the difference, definitely. In my case was the difference. In my friend's case was the difference too. Same story. So it's like a test drive on DC, and after then you just straight back to AC.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you guys. That's insightful. What else can we say about that? Any other input or output in this case? Okay. Well, I think we covered that topic pretty good. What else do we have in line here? Any other...
Rick, this is Denny.
I was going to say, any other breakers in there? Sure enough.
I was quite interested in the comment that Rashid, is it Mosfek Rashid, said about his car units. I wouldn't mind if I don't know how to pronounce your name.
Mosfek?
Mosfek Machine. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Could you pronounce
on
your
name?
My name. Let me put on my headphone because there is a lot of noise outside here.
Okay.
Hang on a second. Hang on a second. My name is pronounced Mosfek. Mosfek, and my experience with the car unit was some time back, and this was early on when I was getting introduced to the Keshe technologies. I wanted to see something tangible, and this is one of the device I made, which is just a couple of 6-turn coils. And initially I installed them in one of my old cars. It was old, means like 1989 Honda. And so I got about 25% fuel efficiency improvement, and I didn't measure the power, but the power was in the 25% to 30% range. And of course, Mr. Keshe talked about the MAGRAF positioning of the wheels. So there was a certain change in the driving characteristics as well. So this was the first test I did. And these coils were coated with mixed GaNs. So, and since then, I have asked around people about their MAGRAF, results of their MAGRAF, and it's roughly in that range, except for the case with Lennon and Bernie. They have better results, but their MAGRAF was their coil setup and the GaN setup was quite different from either MAGRAF or just simple 6-turn coils. So since then, I have used various configuration of these 6-turns. Some are kind of like vortex shaped, some were just flat pancake coil, some were just regular coil like you do in MAGRAF, but with a little more spacing. And I have used it in a Lotus, which I owned. So that's a very modern car with very high performance engine. And so it was very good. I mean, the power was 30% improvement. Fuel efficiency was about 25% again. I could start the car in 3rd gear from standstill, and it wouldn't stall. And I could idle. At idle, it would go without the accelerator. It would roll without any accelerator input. It won't stall at all. It's very fascinating how much torque it had at the 800, 700 RPM. So similarly, I have done both modern cars, few more modern cars, 6, 7 of them, all in that range, except for one, which is in Bangladesh. I have put it in one of the car which has a gas cylinder, and people do it because it's much cheaper to run on gas. That one got 30% fuel efficient improvement. So that was high. So I was never motivated. I mean, generally MAGRAF is not much particularly motivating for me. I do more health and other health related stuff. I mean, I have used coils for health, and I've gotten much better results. And so MAGRAF, I avoided partly because I didn't understand the principle. Now I get a better idea, but still it's not completely clear. So I need to do some more experiment before I have complete clarity of how it's working. It's not clear, and with the generator, it might clear up a little bit, especially in generating the frequencies and so forth. How the AC frequency, which Mr. Keshe talked about, how the the electron oscillation that happens in the copper structure. That's something to investigate further in terms of if it does 50 cycle, between 50 cycle and 60 cycle, how do we create that oscillation? So, and it seems from this, again, requires people's experimentation, how the combination of aluminum and the one-sided aluminum nano coating and material side, in combination of these kind of sandwich structure, maybe there is a way to control the frequency. And so, like MAGRAV works in the United States electrical system, but it doesn't in Asia or Europe. So these kind of things, I haven't explored MAGRAV as much. I'm an electrical engineer, and I avoid that one. I don't know, for some reason I avoid it, but I am much more focused right now on those spheres, using plasma field. I know that the nano coating creates the whole range of MAGRAV field, but in order to understand that, we have to first evaluate how specific fields interact, and then we can use the full range to do other things. That's my thought. So I don't understand very well MAGRAV, so I avoid it, and I haven't seen clear understanding in the description. I have gone through all the knowledge seekers workshop, but the coil I do understand. So that's why I stuck to the coil, and I got very good performance. So it's not that MAGRAV gives me any better performance in a car. Yes, in health, yes, MAGRAV does make a difference. But especially in healing wounds, if you use a coil and 2 pads, the healing process accelerates considerably. That I have tested. So that's a 3-layer process. So as Mr. Keshe said, you need 3-layer to do the construction. So this is one of the things we have seen. So I'm not convinced about car MAGRAV. Yes, it makes health difference. People's back pain go away if it's in the car. I have seen that myself, because coils do have a lot of health benefits. But in terms of car MAGRAV giving more power, except for the case I know, which is Renan and Bernie, I haven't seen much in terms of raw performance. I'm not talking about feelings and the MAGRAV positioning and the steering input and all that. Those are different, but raw performance in terms of fuel efficiency, engine power, those are as an engineer, that's kind of looking at it kind of like a more clinical way. But nevertheless, it's a metric that most people understand. And
it's definitely hard to believe some of the claims. I mean, we could look at, I could just bring up the testimonials, for example, on the Keshe Foundation page. And let's have a look at some of the vehicle ones.
Breaker.
Hello, Breaker. Let me just get this up on my desktop.
I was still in Breaker.
I just wanted to show, let me just briefly show a couple of the testimonials here on vehicles. This is from the KFSSI testimonial site, and this is just specifically vehicles. Person claiming the engine now runs extremely quietly, and the drive when driving away and clutching better than ever before. He purrs like a kitten. And here's another person with a rotational unit. Part of the text is cut off, but he says, I had been amazed. It looks like in this ride would have been no fuel consumption with an exclamation mark. And it may have even added fuel. And he talks about what the usual usage is and so on, and how it worked out in that case. Another one talking about how awesome it works, and how he'd like to sell MAGRAVs to trucking companies now, and so on. That's from Peter. And another one with some of these people just have the clockwise and counterclockwise nano coated copper coils that are added to the battery, and that's
that's what I had actually. Yeah, that's what I had.
Yeah, and they're getting good reports and so on. So yeah, interesting. There's many other testimonials as well with coils and so on, with especially in the health sector of the testimonials. It goes on and on and on with all the health testimonials. But I just wanted to show those vehicle ones to show that some of the results that people get from these experiments.
Do you see any that's more than 30% from people? I mean, in terms of?
Yeah, there was a person that John talks about in Peru, I think it was, a woman with a diesel vehicle that was getting like 80–90%
Wow,
reduction.
that's
apparently,
something very different.
And so on. So
Yeah.
yeah, there are reports. I don't know how consistent they are, how, you know, whether it's always that way or just for some times, or how accurate the actual you know, recordings and tests are. That's something to be looked into as well. It'd be good to get some, you know, true science on it in terms of
Yeah.
you know, some kind of what we could call objective results, if it's possible. Let's see, I just gotta get my video up here.
Hi guys, that's MOSFET. Maybe that's because one of the important things with all the stuff is the way how you actually made your own, you know, ganses, and what's the type of ganses, how you connect the ganses with the environment inside your car, you know, all these things. I got one story with the battery, old battery, and I was trying to rescue this battery for, I don't know, probably 4 months, and always the same problem. No any rescue action. Everything was completely dead. Completely. I was trying with the maggraph, with everything. Nothing works. So, but one day I just look at the label on the battery, and just look at something like a PB battery. PB is something started ringing in my mind, like a ding ding ding. Yes, Eureka, you know. PB. This is the lead guns, and I was just apply the lead guns through the one small maggraph, and I was connect this battery through this maggraph. And since this moment, the battery is working condition. Not actually the best one, because it's really old. It's completely destroyed by time, but the rescue action is, let's say, in a 50% success. So this is the way how you gonna use the technology. Maybe in your environment, for example, the, you know, small springs and accumulator is not that much. Maybe you need to actually sit down, spend, I know, maybe, you know, 4 evenings, just do some really nice, you know, maggraph, one nice course, apply the right ganses, and check in this full scale. You know, that's the point. I mean, it didn't cost that much time and effort to do these things. Instead of comfort driving, and also, you know, check this experiment in your environment in a full scale with all the pieces in the right places. You know, maybe that's the way to do this.
Nice driving sound effects there, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna crowd. I mean, you know, here people use honking a lot, so
they sure do. Wow, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
like you have seen picture of Dilly and this kind of. Yeah, I'll mute.
Sorry, you broke up there a bit, but I think we got the gist of it about driving in Delhi. Yeah, interesting. Okay, what else do we have to show here? Jay's saying about showing a plasma reactor. No one's shown any plasma reactors for a lot of episodes. And have I got anything that I'm working on recently? No, I don't have anything new to show right now, actually. I kind of had a bit of a lull here with other things that have taken precedence, so we'll see how it goes. It's always stuff that comes up. Okay, what do you have, Jay? You should have something to show by now. You've been a student for quite a while of the KFSSI and following the Keshe teachings. Time to get your hands dirty and make something.
Yeah, well, Rickson, so just short on the funds at the minute. But
Yeah, I know what you mean. That's my main hold up too. So having to do the make a living thing gets in the way of living. You know, they shouldn't call it making a living. It makes you more dead than alive when you're working. Okay, so who else has something to show, or do we wrap it up for tonight? I'm sure there's something else hiding in the background there. Somebody with their favorite pet plasma invention.
I could maybe add a little bit about the cars.
Okay, sure, Eric.
On some occasions, I have spoken with a guy that worked together with Stanley Meyer.
Oh, yes.
And
just to remind people who might not know who is Stanley Meyer and why should we care.
Stanley Meyer, you know, what we are trying to do with the MacGraphs, there were two guys that actually had a lot of success making the cars we all would like to have. The first one was E.V. Gray. He met one of Tesla's students in the 50s. And this student told Gray about the Tesla car that was running completely on energy from the environment. And at Gray, he was a radar technician, if I remember right, and he could not forget what he was told. But it's not easy stuff to do, so Gray, he worked very hard for 30 years and succeeded at last. And the only reason he succeeded was that he was a member of a religious society that funded him. So the normal system where the banks don't fund, and so he slipped by that, and eventually he ended up with a series of prototype motors, and the latest one he showed for hundreds of people were delivering 80 horsepower. And the only energy you brought to this car was two charged 6-volt batteries. Then it could run until the battery wore out because it was pretty heavy on charging the batteries. But unfortunately, they raided his shop and took everything and came with some false accusations, let him out again, and a little later they shot him when he built it up again. The other one was Stanley Meyer, and I think what he did was more like the things more related to what the car MacGrav is, in my understanding. He energized some water. He made the first thing he made was electrolysis, and what he basically did was to have some pulse device that generated some plasma, and it had a coefficient of performance that was about 17, meaning that for each kilowatt he put into the system, he got 17 kilowatt out. So he could make some electrolysis with this system that was basically what I call cold electricity. So he made this hydrogen and oxygen, and the car was running on that. But it was a very a big thing to put on a car, and it was not that good. Then he shifted to a new system where he replaced the spark plugs with some plasma spark plugs, and these spark plugs was also in an injection system of water, and he treated the air that was put into the engine, and so what Stan did and was able to do, this system he made, he said he could put it on an ordinary car, replacing the plugs, adding some stuff to engine compartment, and he could do that for $1,500. And then you were running purely on water.
Well, he built a dune buggy, right? And that was his claim to fame, or how he got a lot of attention, was driving this dune buggy across America on a few gallons of water. I think he might have had a bit of fuel, but it was like just a couple gallons or something maybe, but it was primarily water, if not entirely water. But he had this electrical conversion with radio frequency and coils and plasma, and the whole shot. It was actually a multi-stage kind of apparatus that was able to do that. So go ahead, yeah.
This was the first system he had.
Oh, okay.
But it was not that practical. The later system he made with the plasma spark plugs, that was very impressive. That was a system he could add on for $1,500, and he basically heated the water to 80 degrees, and he also had some treatment of the water, and he had the air. The air was treated in a system with high voltage and lights on it. So the air got excited the oxygen was raised in energy level by this system, and it was obvious a system that didn't require much energy compared to what you got from it. So the oxygen was raised to a higher energy level, and the problem with that was that this state only lasted for about 0.4 of a second. So he treated the air just before it entered the engine, and it worked very, very well. And that was the system that he had 18 patents, and the powers that were, they offered him $1 billion, I think it was, for these 18 patents, but his intention was a cleaner world, so he said no to an offer you can't refuse, and that cost him his life in 1998. He was poisoned. So these were the two things that we could have had if Mr. Keshe had appeared earlier on. They would might have survived.
Yes, and there was one other invention that's similar to those, which is the PAP invention, PAP motor. Yes. And that's a plasmatic type motor that works on a recycled, I think it was mostly helium gas mixture, actually helium, argon, neon, and xenon, I think were all used. And actually that PAP motor invention was named in the Keshe patent application. At the end of the patent application, they have an area for similar inventions that might be overlapping with the Keshe invention that was, or Keshe patent itself, which is very long. It's like, I don't know, 120 pages or something. It's the longest patent I've ever seen, before or since. And so at the end of it, it's got this one thing for the PAP motor. I think that was the only thing they could compare the Keshe patent to. You know, the patent officer or whoever is evaluating these patent applications had put that on as a footnote, apparently, that was the only similar one. So, and the PAP motor was pretty important. He was actually running it without fuel and demonstrating it to the patent officers and some industrial people, and then the motor blew up, and actually I believe it killed one person, injured someone else, and so on. The reason it blew up was I believe it was the patent officer. He was really sort of jealous and didn't believe that this engine could really run, and it did have a couple of batteries that were also running, but it was a sort of like an internal combustion engine with the pistons that were moving up and down, but it had these batteries. And so he went and disconnected one of these, but unfortunately that was the engine kept going. It was not running on the batteries. The batteries were part of the control system for the engine. So the engine started running amok apparently without that control system that was quickly removed by this guy, and the operator Pap couldn't keep it under control, and it over-revved and blew up basically, or something like that. So anyway, there you go. It's another tale of something that was very close but didn't come to pass because of circumstances.
Yes, but this engine was quite impressive. It was from, I don't know if you know these cars in USA, but the Volvo, the Swedish Volvo car, there was a car named Amazon, and it had this four-cylinder 1.8 liter engine. And what he basically did was that he changed the pistons to some very special pistons with some cavity in it, and he removed the top and came with a complete new top with no valves in it, just a top with some electrodes that fit into the pistons. And then he made some electric pulses on those electrodes, and the whole engine was filled with this mix of noble gases and seal. And this engine, it didn't get warm, and it didn't make noise, not much noise, because there was only the crankshaft and the piston, so the noise level was low, and the engine developed 300 horsepower. That's quite impressive. And it was very stable, and it could run down to maybe 100 RPM in idle.
But the reason it kept its charge for some time too, apparently, and it could be improved upon. So we'd only need minute amounts of gases to keep it going eventually.
They had to refill the engine once a year because some of the gases leaked, so they had to put a fresh mixture in the engine for every year, but that's a very low cost compared to filling it up with gasoline.
Exactly, yeah.
But the reason I opened my mouth was because of this Stanley Meyer associate, or he worked voluntarily on the water car, and he, I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, he was here in Denmark, and he showed me a car, and he said that this car was able to save about 30% of gasoline, and what they had there was just a little glass of water with maybe 10 milliliter or 20 milliliter of water that was raised, that was structured to a very high level. He spoke about this water was level 20, and I don't know how they measure what level it was. And he says that some of the guys he got this from was at level 22. And if they had this level on the water, it was practically not using gasoline. And this little glass of water was put into the air filter. So the was just passing by it, and there was no consumption of the water.
That's interesting. I was just thinking of that today. I was looking at my air filter and thinking of what if it just sprayed the air filter, a new air filter, brand new one, with Gans water, and maybe let it sit and dry, but maybe not. Maybe just drive it and see what happens. Just have it air dry naturally from driving. It may not be the best, but depending on how heavy the spray was. And then the particles, the nanoparticles, will actually embed into the material of the filter, and you'd have a GANS filter for your air, and you know, combining with the gasoline and so on.
If I understood Armand right, he says this is a plasma energy converted into mechanical energy. And my thought was, and I have been thinking about this because I heard this, I got this story with the air filter and the water. Maybe we could actually make some other kind of in apostrophe karma graph by maybe like the health unit I started with. You treat the air like Myers did. Stanley Myers, the second one he made, he had this, I can't remember the name of the unit, but it treated the air right before entry into the motor. It was running in a high voltage field. I think there was about 40 or 50 kilovolts on a sensor electrode. And this little unit was about maybe 15 centimeters long and maybe 10 centimeters in diameter, the outer tube, and the inner tube was maybe just 20 millimeter in diameter, and they were polished to high glossy, you know, like a mirror. And then he had lines, I think it was 8 or 9 lines of diodes in special colors lighting into that room with a high voltage, and that excited the oxygen. So apparently, as long as we don't convert completely to something else, electric cars or spaceships, all the cars we do have here right at the moment, if we could do something smart to them to make them even more efficient, and maybe treat the input air, just like the breathing unit for people. Maybe we could make a device that plasma treats the air that the engine sucks in, and combine it with the ordinary karma graph and maybe get even stronger.
Well, ideally, we would be taking in dirty air and putting out cleaner air out the tailpipe or out the back of the vehicle. I mean, technically that actually happens in a heavily polluted city. Your vehicle, some modern vehicles are so efficient that they clean the air through the air filter, burn it in the engine and so on, and what comes out the tailpipe can actually be breathed better than the ambient polluted air in the city. So inevitably some of the new vehicles actually do clean the air as they go. But and on the other hand, a vehicle like a new Tesla car, they have a extremely advanced filtration system. They have a test where they put the car inside the smoke cage, and there's people inside, and they aren't even bothered by the smoke that's fills up the entire cage around the vehicle. And in that case, it's an electric vehicle. It doesn't leave a trail of smoke to start with, and the air going into the cabin is so super filtrated that what goes out is far cleaner than what goes into the vehicle. So that vehicle is leaving a tunnel of clean air behind itself as it travels through space, which is actually, when you think about it, the way we all should be traveling through our personal spaces, our environment that we're in. We should be cleaning as we go, you know, like as my father used to point out in the campground where we were camping, you know, he'd make us pick up more stuff than we left, basically, when we left the campground or camping area. You'd have to be super clean, leave it cleaner than when you got there, was the idea. So if everyone had that attitude, we'd be traveling through the planet, cleaning everything as we go, rather than leaving a trail of debris as we do as most humans. So you think about it, with 20,000 people killed every day from the effects of burning fuels, from this fuelish idea of a tailpipe sticking into the person behind you's face. Why that would be a good idea, I don't think that's the way it should be. So we should be having a tailpipe that sticks into their face, but it should be clean, you know, the best refreshing gasified air possible going to your neighbor behind you, not the worst noxious toxic stuff possible, especially since most of the vehicles now are over half the vehicles are now trucks that are being produced. SUVs are officially classified as trucks, and therefore they don't have to pass the same pollution requirements as cars do, which is a smart move. If you're a car manufacturer, you just make more trucks and you don't have to you don't have to meet the fleet regulations as much, because they're not under the same laws. Well, that's
breaker guys.
Come in, over.
The piece of information about the chromographs and the cleaning earth system. The good idea, if someone got the chronograph, prepare the small plastic balls with a good polymer, the right one, to avoid dissolve inside your gasoline tanks, the small balls with the guns inside. So the good combination for gases: CO2, zinc oxide, and of course the guns, the copper guns, CuO, and also if it's lead guns, PB guns, because that's the interaction inside your engine. So you don't need build a special device like a Stanley Meyer, nothing like that, because we already got this option in the most easy way. We got field transmissions, and you need to put somewhere your one coil, or even bigger the 3 coils maggraph through your car, connect to the car, and the plasma will travel across your car. And that's what you got inside your small reactor, inside your tanks. That's the field. And this field is same, especially, the good idea, if you like to do gases, take your the old oil, the stinky oil from your car, the old one, and do guns from this oil. You got all the pieces from your engine, every single metal, every component inside your engine. So you get all your fields inside your car. You got everything. You are a master and boss for everything, for all this material. So if you're gonna turn all this stuff through the guns, and you're gonna
apply an idea. That's I hadn't thought of that, but it's such an awful, yucky thought that it's hard to think about. But on the other hand, maybe that's an answer. Yeah, it's a way of reconnecting your car with itself.
Exactly. You got because same gases inside your maggraph in a car. Yeah, that's the first ball. The second ball, or even 2 balls, if you got 2 tanks, they stack in the 2 tanks, for example, and you get your star formation. So, and in cognition process, set up the field for all the engines. So you change the field around every single metal piece around your car. So you don't need to change the earth, because it's already different in a second when you connect your maggraph to your car, and that's all. And you just need to build the field. So take your time, do the maggraph proper, do the good nano coating, the good gases, and just set up the system. And you already got these things. You don't need to actually spend years like a Stanley Meyer to find the right materials to actually change the PN junction inside the water. The guys in Australia do extraordinary research. They call this extrude zone inside the water. They discovered this is the plasma. There's like a plasma shielding around the water, and if you change the properties from proton and neutron, you actually change the properties from water. The water behaves like a completely different substance, like oil, whatever you like. You're actually able to change to probably everything. So, but this is the complicated things. We don't need it, actually, especially these complicated things, because we got plasma things. We got plasma field, and if you if you know how to manage the strong plasma field by patient basically and a good maggraph inside your car, after I don't know, maybe 1 month, depends how often you drive your car, you will generate extraordinary field inside your car, and you will achieve the gasoline consumption and many different things, very positive things with your car. So this is the only way to, I mean, this is the way to apply this this stuff in the most simple simple way. Oh. Because all the stuff what we do, this is kind of essence for all these interfaces was guys before try build. I mean, because you know, many guys got only piece of all this knowledge, and they try find the right door through this technology, and sometimes the door goes some really, you know, complicated things with many complicated aspects and stuff like that. I'm absolutely unable to manage and do on your kitchen table, for example. And now you get this kind of technology, and you're actually able to do something better than the Stan Meyer with your car on your kitchen table. Just piece of ganses, the right installation in the car, DC current, and you get fantastic field.
Yep,
and
you can go more simpler, then that's so much the better. True
Exactly.
alien technology is probably very simple, but very powerful at the same time.
For example, the secret are your amino acids.
Sorry, who's that? Is that Eric?
Yeah, oh. I agree with Thomas, but before Keshe, nobody had this knowledge, and they did what they could. And now you said this about delivering more clean air than the one you started with. I was not completely just, because there's also a guy named Paul Pantone, and he's still alive, although he has been put in a psychiatric hospital for 3 years, but all his followers got him out. He actually he taught 25,000 people personally how to convert an ordinary internal combustion engine to a plasma engine, but with something you could do in 1 day if you were a skilled craftsman. And it's quite used in France on tractors and cars, and they have even converted.
I mean, I do not complain this technology. I mean, because it's something different. I mean, because it's a longer way or something like that. It's probably fantastic and everything is fine, but we got kind of simple options. So if you're gonna if you're gonna apply through your car CO2, all the environment around your car gonna be completely different. So the properties from the earth gonna be completely different, and also because your car generate the field, and you like infectious grooves. Every single parking, when you're gonna park your car longer than few minutes, you're gonna leave the field in the inside the in this parking. So even if you're gonna back to home, this place still generate different fields. So this field change the atmosphere, change the air, change the everything. This technology is like an infectious groove. So it's so easy to use. I mean, okay, if you like to do something something like a Stan Meyer or stuff like that, yeah, absolutely fine and probably fantastic idea. Everything is okay, but using the very simple tools.
Yeah, Thomas, Thomas, I'm not arguing that you should use something else that Keshe technology. I was just mentioning that someone before Mr. Keshe actually did some fantastic things, and Paul Pantone, he made an engine and you could breathe the exhaust. It made transmutation. It transmuted matter and it used plasma. Just a historical mention of someone that also found something of interest. If Mr. Keshe had been killed, they had succeeded to kill him, I think Paul Pantone would be one of the candidates, because it has been used widely. And the pollution of a car running with Pantone system, you can find it on YouTube. There was a French guy that documented the very low pollution from that car, and you could breathe the air from it without dying, and it was no soot in, so nobody would get problems with the lungs. It's just a historical mention. I do not try to convince anyone to build the system now. We have the other stuff from Mr. Keshe, but just to mention that he was not the only one tinkling with these things.
I think it was many people thinking about this this kind of things for years. For in the 30s was few guys in Europe, in the States, who actually done quite extraordinary research and devices to support human health and stuff like that. So I mean, it was many guys like that before. We actually put all these puzzles together now. I mean, and actually the gentleman who put all the stuff together, and like the first one is probably Mr. Mahram Keshe. That's the point. I think it's good to get some inspiration for other guys. That's absolutely something very welcome. But because you're just chatting about how to clean polluted earth, and it's a fantastic solution. Use the ganses, for example, the gans of copper, the gans of CO2, the gans of zinc. Different combination that they work fantastic. I mean, this is something what we got already in a hand. We just need to set up, some nice reactor and either drop to the local lake or something like that. Small amount of CO2, and we change the properties for all this environment.
Okay, guys, I'm gonna have to wrap things up here. I think I'm starting to flag a bit. It's been like 3.5 hours. Is there any last minute stuff?
Yeah, Rick, this is Denny. I was just gonna tell Eric that I met Paul and spent an afternoon with him.
Oh, cool.
And yeah, you can find a lot of his, well, I don't know now, I haven't looked for it, but he showed you how right on YouTube how to do his systems.
Yeah, I looked into that a bit.
All right, thanks.
It's an interesting idea, using the recycled heat and the different was it nickel and copper tubes, I think, and so on, the exact lengths and diameters and whatnot. Yeah, be fun to play with.
But the reason I mentioned these historical things is that the best results I have heard about on gasoline cars is saving about 40% of the gasoline, right?
Probably,
so,
yeah.
So I was thinking, as long as we don't tingle with the lambda number of the combustion, I think the engine computer will be satisfied with the operation. It just senses there's not so much load on the engine, maybe. So if I was thinking, if we have the Makarov in the car and we get about a 40% saving, maybe some of the old guys with the treating of the air could maybe raise this number to 70% or more, so that we really get some fuel efficiency on the cars we have. Of course, this is not the end solution. We must have some different solution, the spaceship or electric car or whatever, because I don't think a spaceship will be very suited in the middle of a city. I don't know how you should use it if a lot of people have them, but an electric car is right in front of you with the Makarov, I think. But until we have this, there's only a few electric cars. That's a fact of life. So if we could have some intermediate solution with a Makarov and some other stuff put on, inspired by the old guys, and maybe
the electric cars are about to invade the world, with the announcement today that Volkswagen is putting their full full finances and engineering behind electric vehicles to come up with the ultimate people's car that's electric, basically. And they're going to start selling in China, I think, next year, and they have plans to basically dethrone the Tesla car company, which is rapidly becoming the largest car company in the world, and they predict it'll be the largest company in the world within a few years.
But don't be mistaken by Volkswagen. I think it was 10 years or 12 years ago I was at Volkswagen and had a 4-hour tour through the factory. And after that I was driving a Golf car with 220 horsepower, electric Golf. And it was a very nice car, so they have had it all the time. But they are owned by the banks, and the big banks wants to sell oil. But don't be mistaken, the Germans, they are very, very skilled.
Yes, they've had this for a while. They just keep it in wraps, and had to wait until they were actually pressured into it by all this revelation about the diesel scam that they pulled on people by cheating on the emissions exams, basically. Them and many other manufacturers. But they got caught, and now they're paying the price, and it's a big price, many, many billions of dollars with a B.
One of the obstacles to a non-gasoline vehicle for the longest time was road taxes came from your gasoline. All that gas tax built your roads. And so anytime there was a vehicle that came up that decreased the use of gasoline or eliminated the gasoline, it ran into the laws of the road tax. And so that has been a problem for quite a few decades. And that was one of the things that Paul Pantone ran into too.
Yeah, it's part of the old school thinking on things. So they didn't think it through that you could actually save tens of billions or hundreds of billions of dollars in health costs and have much better production because of the longevity of your population, that you wouldn't need to have anywhere near the tax base of the oil-based industries, which are short lives. And
yeah, well, that's you can say that. We can say a lot of these things in hindsight. Would you take
plus we don't need roads where we're going.
First there was trains. You know, that was a huge environmental expense.
Yeah, I'll say.
But that's what we had.
Yeah.
But the future will be better when we get our small spaceships. Shouldn't it be able to just make a chair with a reactor under it, and then we create the shell around it? So we could build such a thing for maybe $200-300 and.
Well, even better, that we should be able to make it on whatever planet we land on. You know, like we find ourselves someplace in the universe, essentially stranded, but let's say just adventuring. Then, okay, this planet, there's some copper metals here, there's some zinc metals. We're good to go. Let's get to work. You know, that's maybe all you need. And even if you don't have that, you can make it up somehow. You find a way to make your own materials.
They'll probably have a
deal. Let's make.
They'll probably have a road tax there. They'll probably have a road tax, so you got to.
But it's space tax instead.
It's the space tax is the problem. Yes, yes. Especially if you don't have space money in your space wallet at the time. What do you do? But officer. Yeah. Hope that officer isn't 100 times bigger than you.
But isn't it right that if we make such a very simple thing and we make it fly, the knowledge required to go outside the Earth's atmosphere is much larger than if you make something just to make a little travel here inside the atmosphere, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So that could be a first step. I would be very happy to have such a thing and have a 2-minute travel time to any place on Earth, and have some small holiday experiences and seeing the world. That would be very nice. So I hope we can advance quite fast to that point, because it has been made. Keshe has, as I understand it, Keshe has made several of those, and he just won't tell us. We have to learn it ourselves, based on the basic knowledge he gives us. Right?
Yeah. Much of it's already been explained in the patents and so on, and it's just up to people to actually try it in a more or less professional way, or at least in a way that's taking advantage of the information and full detail.
A lot of work to do. We have to do our best.
Yeah, there's so many different areas. This whole thing of the plasma technology opens up so many cans of worms in so many directions. It's just worms everywhere. And how do you know, as a bird feeding on worms, which one to actually pick up? Because each one is, attached to different things. And do you get into GANs? Do you get into creating nanomaterials? Do you get into creating certain kinds of reactors or other kinds, and so on? All these decisions along the way. Each time there's a decision means you got to commit to a certain realm of knowledge, and that means you have to sort of ignore the rest, because there's so much. It's impossible for any one individual to absorb it all. So it gets a little dicey that way. As Mr. Keshe says, there's more types of reactors than there are stars in the universe. And we keep finding more and more billions of stars all the time. And I think they just found another, 176,480 or something new galaxies just around the rim of the Milky Way galaxy couple of days ago, and so on. And this is whole galaxies full of billions of stars, and you think, whoa, it's just incredible. And you translate that back to reactors, and you start to realize there's such a vast realm that it will take literally thousands of years to fully explore all the different modalities. And it's like if everyone has their own frequency or their own personality of their soul, you might say, then there's as many types of reactors, because each one has their own personality as well. So
this shows this shows the importance of sharing our ideas, because when we share the ideas, we inspire others, and then as a whole, we progress faster.
Right.
In my view, it's very important to share.
Yeah, that's a good point. Thank you.
Because that's the exact opposite of the old inventors sitting in their cellar and hiding everything. That didn't succeed.
Right. That's right, or the guilds, or the cliques that people had, and so on. The old boys club of industrialists and Illuminati groups that run things and so on. It's a different world now.
Yes, together we get strong.
Right on. Okay,
Yes.
I'm going to...
I will shut my mouth.
I'm going to wrap things up. I
Thank you,
appreciate
Rick.
all the comments from everyone. Thank you, Eric, and thank you, Jay, and thank you, Mosbeck, and Thomas, and Denny, and Doug, and geez, Armin's here now. I didn't see you there before, Armin, until recently, so hi, and bye.
Hello.
Is there anything you wanted to add before we leave?
Actually, I just got in the last part, so 5 minutes I'm here. I was driving.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to wrap things up and kind of getting tired here, so... but yeah, so a lot of good things came out, some nice explanations and whatnot.
Okay, guys.
Yep.
Have a good.
Okay, very good. Let's ponder some things and come up with stuff for next week, and we'll see you all next time around. Right on, Doug. Take care. Okay, let's wrap it up for now. Thank you everybody for attending and the live stream.